Hello, good evening. It is Tuesday, just another quiet day at Arsenal. We've got the Tuesday clinic. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I'm sure we'll find something. So, just another boring week in the life of Arsenal, and I'm joined by the usual guests. I don't know what we're going to talk about tonight. We'll have to think of something. I did have an agenda, but I've just thrown it out the window. First of all, of course, Melvin, how you doing? Great to have you back on again.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, probably. Can we talk about politics or something? Something that's not boring. Something like that. Arsenal's definitely boring at the moment.
Yeah, nothing going on at all. Really, really dull. Adam as well. Good to have you back, mate. You all right?
Yeah, great to be here. I was thinking maybe we could talk about the unseasonably mild weather we're getting right now.
Yeah, that could take up a bit of time. Definitely, it's been very mild actually out there, which is nice, exactly. I suppose. But better than all the snow that we had a couple of weeks ago. And Dorsey again. Can I just say this jacket that Dorsey's got on tonight is absolutely magnificent. Look at that. That is absolutely fantastic. And apart from anything else, it suits the vibe of the show. Obviously, with our archive section and history of Arsenal, it's a fantastic piece of kit. That.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, good. Apologies, I missed last week. I needed a few days to get over those previous two results. We'd still be talking about it if I was on the show last week. So, but looking forward to tonight. A couple of bits to talk about.
Yeah, there's one or two things. I mean, obviously, I know it might surprise a few people, but actually at the weekend we did actually play a game. Oh, there you go. So, obviously, Southampton was the game at the weekend. And actually, after a shaky start, I thought that was one of our better performances of the season, actually. Certainly the second half in particular. I know we were 2-0 up and we could relax, but that was a good performance in the end and a good victory. We could have and should have maybe won by a few more, Melvin. You must have been delighted with the response after the Everton game with the same starting 11 as well.
Yeah, I was surprised with the same starting 11. But the first 15 or 20 minutes, I think sometimes you play a game and the first goal was important. This first goal was so important because before the goal, we weren't in it. I mean, their goalie never touched the ball. I know he hasn't played for so many years. Now you can put another year on it nearly because he nearly didn't touch the ball at all the first 20 minutes. And I think we were quite lucky that their forward that was injured in training. The quite tough guys.
Yeah, Che Adams, yeah.
Because they had no focal forward. They had lots of coming on the wings, coming inside a little bit, but they had no one to give the ball to in the actual middle. And that's where they were failing. And so then once we broke that fantastic goal, the crowd grew in confidence. Obviously the players grew in confidence. And we went on a great run. Some of the football we played was terrific. We tried stuff that we don't normally try. I mean, really, it was the opposite. Normally we start well and falter. This was kind of a reverse. And we did. Some of the moves were unbelievable. It was like an inch away from being another Arteta ball game, move. Because there was about 4 or 5 times we were like, just didn't quite get there. And it would have brought the house down a goal like that. But we did. The first goal was terrific. The second goal was different. And the third, I mean, we could have had 3, 4. We could have had another 3 or 4, actually, second half. We were just all over them. And we took our foot off the pedal like we normally do. But it didn't matter. It's 3-0. I would have settled for that all day long. And with the performance, especially from a couple of players, a couple of them played fantastic, I thought. To pick a man of the match, I mean, Odegaard for me was when you're there, you see the running he does. You think there's 2 of them on the pitch. You look up, he's over there. Then you look at he's over there. What's going on? You don't realise how much running the guy does. I thought Tommy looked terrific going forward and defensively. He doesn't like losing a tackle, does he? Or anything. No. To have a 2-footed fullback makes all the difference because when he pushes the ball inside, he's got more chance of finding his man with his left foot than a right-footed man trying. He's like you might get tackled or blocked. No, he was terrific. Gabriel played very, very well, and of course Ramsdale played his normal game, and Tierney's getting back to where he was last year. So all in all, very good performance, and I really enjoyed it.
It was, yeah. I mean, I agree. I thought it was actually a good team performance. It wasn't really individual players who stood out. Everybody played pretty well. No one had a poor game, really, apart from that first 15, 20 minutes where we probably looked nervous because of the previous results, and the Everton game, I think, was still on our mind a little bit. But that first goal was a thing of absolute beauty, wasn't it? I mean, it's the sort of goal that Arteta wants us to be able to score, and they must work on that in training constantly. And sometimes it comes off. You know, we've scored 4 or 5 goals like that, haven't we, in the last couple of years? Not enough, but we've scored a few. And it is something that if we can do that more often, we're going to be a lot better to watch, and it's going to be much more exciting. But we're not doing it enough. And that's maybe frustration slightly for me. But it was a great performance, especially second half. I mean, Adam, was you surprised when he named the same starting 11 as he had against Everton?
Yeah, a little bit, to be honest. But then again, because I didn't know if Martinelli was going to be fit or not, but if he was fit, he deserved to start. So I was quite happy that he was. So initially, I was a bit surprised. Maybe that was the only one, but then obviously wasn't surprised to see Aubameyang dropped out of the squad. I'm sure we might talk about him a bit more later, so I won't go into it in too much detail now. But like Melvin said, like the first 15 minutes, we were completely under the cosh. Like we could not get a foot in the game. There was a guy in midfield for them. He was number 27. I can't remember his name, but he was running the show the first 10 to 15 minutes. No one was picking him up, and he was just running through. And I was thinking, what is happening here? And then you had Redmond down one side who was causing problems. You had Livramento, their right back was getting the freedom of the park. And I was like, this is dreadful. And I was worried because, like you just said, we usually do start well and get poor. And I was thinking, this is awful. But then that goal just brought us back into it completely. And it's good when it does happen. Like you said, we've done that 4 or 5 times now over the last couple of seasons. And that is what he's trying to do, that beat the high press. And when it works, you can see how well it works, you know. And the problem is it doesn't work enough, in my opinion. But when it does work, it does show you the potential of what we've got, because some of the one-touch football around the whole of the game was amazing, especially that goal. That first goal was it was a thing of beauty. And, seconding what Melvin said, I thought Odegaard for me was outstanding, you know. And again, when you are at the game, you can see more of what he does. He was constantly looking for that ball. He never stood still, and he was making things happen. He was putting people out of position, creating space. If he wasn't on the ball himself, he was trying to find that space. He was orchestrating. He reminded me a little bit of Cazorla, that kind of role in the middle. And it was really good to see, I think. And I think that was definitely his best performance this season, probably his best performance for Arsenal. I think Odegaard, and I was very, very impressed. But yeah, like you said, like you couldn't really pick a bad performer out of there at all, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think Southampton, their heads went down after the first goal because they put so much effort into that first 15, 20 minutes. When they went one down, it was like, and they didn't really get a look in. They had a couple of forays late on, but didn't really get a look in after that. And it was a very accomplished performance. Yeah, well happy with that.
Yeah, it was. And finally, I mean, I've been, you know, even when we were winning games at home, maybe struggling against Watford and Norwich to win. And, you know, although we picked up the results, I wasn't completely convinced. And, you know, we said on the show a few weeks ago that, you know, we were 5th in the league a couple of weeks ago. We didn't feel as though we should have been 5th with the way that we've been playing. But that was a performance that kind of suggests that this team have maybe got something about them. And maybe we can challenge into the top 4 even. We'll find out. We play West Ham, of course, tomorrow, which we'll come on to. I mean, Dorsey, that must have been... for you, was that one of the best performances this season, if not the best?
Yeah, 100%. I was quite surprised as well with the starting lineup, keeping the same after the last game. But fair play to Mikel. You know, he's put his head on the block there, picking the same starting 11 and giving them a chance to redeem themselves, because we all know what happens if we'd have not won that game. None of that would come back on the players. It would have all come back on Mikel for not freshening the team up. So fair play to him for doing that. But yeah, fully agree with what the other guys are saying. I thought it was a really, really good accomplished performance after that first 15, 20 minutes. I only kind of really caught the extended highlights. I wasn't able to get a decent enough stream to watch it. But yeah, I mean, the goal was unreal. It's going to be one of those that we're going to be looking back on in 5-10 years' time as one of the great goals. So and fully agree with Odegaard. I thought he was absolutely superb, and I think he's always given that effort. You can always see he's always run around, isn't he? He's always putting in the work to kind of press and win the ball back. But it all fell for him. And I think when you work hard, you buy your own luck, didn't you? He was in the right place at the right time for his goal. And I think that's what hard work gets you. It puts you in those positions to be able to. Well, I mean, we were lucky with his goal. I mean, Tierney miscontrolled the first the first one, and then he hit the defender and it came back, and he was able to kind of nod it back across into the danger area. So, and Gabriel, I've got to say, he's been superb for us all season. But I think he's, for the first time for a long time, we look dangerous from corners. We look dangerous from set pieces because of him. He really does attack things. So, well, I think there's a couple now he's got this season. So, yeah, brilliant performance. Really happy after the 2 games previous to that. So I think we needed that as a bit of a confidence boost to get a few goals, keep another clean sheet, get the fans back on side, and obviously go again into tomorrow. So yeah, very, very happy with the performance.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, you mentioned Gabriel, of course. He had a goal disallowed, didn't he, just before the one he scored? Yeah. It was a bit unfortunate. Yeah. He was offside. It was the right decision, but he was getting himself in there and making a threat and a nuisance of himself, and he got himself a goal. And yeah, I think personally he should maybe score a few more from set pieces because he's good in the air. He attacks the ball well, and maybe he can start scoring a few more. I think he got 3 last season. He's got 2 now this season, so he's on track. And he's looked. I agree. I think he's been our most consistent defender actually all season. Him and Tomiyasu probably, but maybe Gabriel just slightly edges it for me. I just think he's been fantastic pretty much every game, and that's what we've needed. We needed someone at the back to take control of the defence, and that's what he's done, and he's been brilliant. Shane's in the chat there. He says, "Hi lads, hope you're well." Yeah, we're very well, mate. He says a couple of things went our way with the ref also. Yeah, maybe slightly. About time, to be fair. Nigel in the chat there says, "Good evening, chaps. Disappointment is my overriding sentiment regarding the Aubameyang news. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. The armband is seemingly too much of a burden for most players, and it seems to be with us. We've had a lot of problems with captains, and we'll come on to that in a minute, actually. But yeah, I mean, obviously, in terms of this game, it was an important victory, a vital victory as well. Because had we not won this game, with the team selection as well, as we said, and not just winning it, we actually won it convincingly, and that's the first time we've really won a game convincingly this season in the Premier League. I think a lot of the time we've kind of, as I said, sort of struggled by and scraped through. Whereas this one, the last 20 minutes, we could relax, get the cigars out, and enjoy the last 20 minutes without having to stress about whether or not we'd concede an equaliser or whether we were going to get a goal or whatever it might be. So it was nice, and let's just hope that this isn't a one-off. Let's hope that this can be a springboard for a series of decent performances now. We've got a lot of big games coming up in quite a short space of time over Christmas. If we can pick up a lot of points there, then we'll be in a very, very good position going into the new year, won't we? And, it's going to really transform the season, which has been a difficult season really for us up until now. But, maybe things are starting to change. But just as we think things are on the up, we then, of course, get some news today, which, was a little bit of a surprise, shall we say, slightly. So, I mean, I guess a surprise in some ways, but I mean, I don't think any of us really are completely shocked that he's had the captaincy taken off him. Aubameyang, one, because his performances on the pitch for at least a year have not been good enough. His attitude off the pitch seems to be even worse, and I think that's the issue, isn't it? Now, we don't really know exactly what's gone on. We only know what Arteta said today about it, which wasn't that much, if we're totally honest. He kind of skirted around a lot of the questions, I felt. But I believe he's made the right decision, and he should be backed for this decision. Any Arsenal fans that are blaming Arteta or criticising Arteta for this need to have a word of themselves, because he's done the right thing. Aubameyang hasn't acted like a captain at this great club pretty much since he's had the armband, and certainly not for the last year at least. So it's been long overdue. And I say, well done, Arteta. We've all criticised Arteta for different reasons, and his man management and this, that, and the other. But if this was just his decision, then it's the right decision. I mean, what do you think it is, Melvin? Do you think it is the right decision for the club, for the players, for the squad, and for everybody? Or do you think maybe he's been a little bit hasty?
I think for various reasons, it's totally the right decision. I called him out last week. Chino, I called him, captain in name only. He's been like that since he had the armband, in all honesty. Yes, you can say he's led the team well when he's got the winning goal, especially in the FA Cup. You can get away with it then. But with the performances he's given the last year or so, you can't play like that and be a captain and retain your position in the side. He's not acted like a captain. Really, people say that when he ran back and he chased back and he got the ball. That's nothing to do with being a captain. Everyone should be doing that. Yeah. But that doesn't make you a good captain or a bad captain. It doesn't set an example of the way he plays. I don't see, he might be very lucky with the toss in the coin. I don't know, but apart from that, I don't see him rucking in. I like to see captains congratulate players, ruck players when they're doing wrong, get the team going when it's not going their way, being the referees here at the right time, at the right level, just to let the referee know that we're not happy here, boys. Let's let the ref, let's be together here. None of that, as I say, Chino. That's all he was. He's been a fantastic player, past, and I've said it before. We paid him that money, and what he's done, we should be starting to pay players what we think they're going to do. We made the same mistake with Ozil, and we've done it with him. I was pleased he signed again, but he wouldn't have got that anywhere else. He only would have got it for us because it was so fresh in the club and all our supporters' hearts and minds what he did for us in those 2 FA Cup victories, that I think that played obviously a very big part in doing what we did. We need a new captain. We need a bit of freshness. We need someone that isn't nice. He might be the nicest guy this side of Mississippi, but we don't need that. I'm sorry. We need a hard, strong captain who gives his all for the club and will literally give the impression that he'd die for the club. I'm afraid he hasn't been it, and the couple before him haven't either.
No, you're right. And I think that it was. Arteta didn't make Aubameyang captain. He was already captain, wasn't he, before Arteta came in? And he's just obviously kept him as captain, maybe because it is difficult to make that decision and take the captaincy off a player, I think, and expect that player to still produce performances or play for the team as much as before. So it is a big decision. And people might say, oh, he had it coming, Aubameyang and this and the other, and he did to a certain degree, but it's still a big decision for a club like Arsenal to sack their captain. It's happened before. Gallas, the same thing happened to William Gallas a few years back. He got his captaincy taken off him mid-season. He never recovered from that, did he? And left the club soon afterwards.
But can I just add? Sorry, Richard. Can I just add?
Yeah,
it's not just on his plays out, his way he plays. It's what he's doing to the club. Having a go, not having a go, bringing the club into disrepute, not turning up like the Spurs game. Now this situation, not turning up and having a tattoo instead. It's taking the mickey out the club. And also, I don't think that tweet helped either, praising Ronaldo last week, right? Was that saying to the club, I'm fed up with you, I want to go anyway? You know what I'm saying? If you don't show respect to your own club, how can you possibly be captain? So it wasn't just what he's done on the field, it's a lot what he did on the field.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, actually, some of the stuff off the field has probably been actually worse than his performances on the pitch as captain, because you represent Arsenal, and as the captain, you're the representative of the manager, you're the representative of the club on the pitch, and also off the pitch as well. And I think you've got to set the right example, and I don't think he's done that. And yeah, I agree with you. He probably is a nice guy. He seems like he is. It seems like the players like him, and he seems to be quite popular. But ultimately, that's not necessarily just good enough to be captain, is it? There's a lot more involved, and you've got to give a lot more commitment and everything else outside of just the 90 minutes or whatever as well. And he's not done that. I think the final straw was probably the fact that everything that had happened obviously on Friday with him getting sent home from training, and then he's got a picture on social media of him getting that tattoo. It's like, that's just completely mental. Go and get a tattoo if you want, nobody cares, but don't, on that particular day when you've just been dropped from the squad, you've been disciplined by the club, to go and put it on social media, all laughing and smiling as though you don't care. That's, to me, I'd have, I wouldn't have even let it drag on until today. I'd have took it off him straight away just for that, if he'd got that far. So, it is the right decision. Adam, what are kind of your thoughts on it? I suppose it's been in the back of our minds for a while, hasn't it? I remember we did a show about Aubameyang being captain last year, or last season. So it's not a new thing, is it? It's just finally everything's reached a head and it's happened.
Yeah, I think it's been a matter of time rather than will it or will it not happen. I completely agree with Arteta. I think he's done the right thing. I also think you're right. He could have done it last week, but I think he probably done the right thing by not doing it before the match, because that would have taken the focus off the match at the time. So
he's done it before this match, tomorrow, hasn't he? He's done it before this match.
Yes, but we've just got over a win. Whereas if he'd done it before the game,
that's the point. Actually, yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
we've done it after a win and a good performance. So I think he's been quite clever there. I've never thought Aubameyang was a captain. I think that he, definitely on the pitch, and by every account, definitely not off the pitch. pitch. On the pitch, he doesn't lead players. He's not, like you said, he doesn't get in the ref's ear. He doesn't get involved. He's not one of the leaders who actually stand up for his teammates. He just, he plays his game. For me, he's a striker and he's quite a selfish player. And that's what strikers generally are. And I ain't really got a problem with that. But he's not a captain material and he never has been. And like you said, Mikel kept him in because he didn't want to rock the apple cart too much. But I think it has been, waiting to happen. And I was surprised that he didn't get demoted during the summer, and had a fresh start with the new season. But again, was I surprised that he still was captain? No, but it's one of these things that, and I think the only thing that was telling about Mikel's interview today was the fact when he said, because of his latest incident, there's like, how many more incidents are there that we're not aware of? We're aware of the 2, but he was kind of intimating that there has been more than 2 that have gone on.
I mean, I kind of
doing these stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of saw that, obviously the latest one being there was one before that we know about, and now this is the latest one. So it could only be those 2, couldn't it? I suppose you could read into it that there could have been a lot more. I suppose it was a bit open-ended, wasn't it?
But even still, you're supposed to lead by example. You are, as a captain, you are supposed to lead by example, no matter what it is. Whether it's disciplinary, it's tardiness, whatever. That's not a good example, and that does need to be stamped down on. And I do think that potentially he could go next month if an offer comes in. I think that this could be his time done. I think I wouldn't be too surprised if we didn't see him play again. Now, and like Melvin said, he was a great player. He was a great player for us. A few years ago, and we'll never take that away. And I was, he was great, but he just hasn't pulled his weight the past 18 months, 2 years. He just hasn't done that. So yeah, well done, Mikel. I stand fully behind. And like you just said at the beginning, I can't believe certain Arsenal fans on social media are blaming Mikel around this. It's like, have they not been watching the games? Have they not been seeing what's been going on? It's like, I just don't get it. And maybe again, it's a case of certain Arsenal fans just looking for clicks or that kind of stuff. I don't know, but if you are a genuine fan, how you can't back Mikel on this, I really do not know.
No, exactly. I mean, we've all criticised Mikel for various different decisions that he's made, and when he gets something right and does the right thing, I think it's only fair that we praise him for getting it right, and I think he's definitely got the right decision. And I think people maybe, people like Aubameyang. He's a big name. He scored a lot of goals for the club, and I think maybe some people maybe genuinely do feel disappointed that that this happened. But ultimately, Aubameyang's got no one to blame but himself because of his behaviour. Has just not been befitting of an Arsenal captain. I mean, Shane in the chat says there he's friendly with troops. That should tell you about his personality, really. He seems to be friendly with everybody, doesn't he? He's friendly with Piers Morgan, apparently. So there you go. So, on that basis alone, you shouldn't be captain of Arsenal if you have your photo taken with Piers Morgan, let alone anything else. So, again, he's done another things that he shouldn't really be doing. Nigel says there the armband's been disrespected. Yeah, I suppose it has, really. And Nigel also says that does anyone actually explain to these players what it means to be captain, or to be captain of Arsenal, not just be captain? This is Arsenal. This isn't just, it's not Man City or some little meaningless club. He said we haven't had a respectable skipper since Henry. Probably not. But anyway, I mean, Dorsey, what are your thoughts on this? I know that obviously you agree with the decision, I think, don't you? So, like we all do.
The first point I'd make is that I would have done it last year when he was late for the North London derby. I would have done it there and then. If you were ever going to pick one game to show disrespect towards the fans, it's that one, isn't it? Turning up late, missing the team meeting before the game. I'd have done it then. I think really, from what I've seen of Oba as captain, when things are going right, it's okay. I've noticed, like we've all said in the last kind of year or 18 months or so, it seems to be, now that things aren't quite going so swimmingly for him, there's a little bit of petulance around him and a couple of little digs here and there, little messages on social media and stuff, which you just can't do that as captain of the club. It's the best thing for the team. And actually, I think this is a big if we do see him in an Arsenal shirt again, I actually think it will be the best thing for him as well. We've all said it. He shouldn't have been made captain in the first place. I don't think he needed that additional pressure. I don't think he dealt with that additional pressure very well at all. It can't be a coincidence that his performances since he was given the armband permanently have not been what we saw from him before that. So obviously there was the new deal that's coincided with that as well. but I think at the time he was the best of a bad bunch. We had a lot of players there that kind of weren't leaders, but what Oba was doing was he was leading on the pitch by the goals that he was scoring. So that kind of justified to a certain degree why he was giving it in the first place. I think it was quite telling in that press conference earlier with Mikel when he was asked about, has he played his last game? There wasn't a clear answer with that. He said at this point in time, he's unavailable. Normally you would expect him to say, absolutely, of course he can work his way back into the team. Of course he can. He can do this. He just needs to get his head down, work hard, get back into the team, and prove everybody wrong. There was none of that. And I agree with Adam. I think if you get a decent offer for him, I suppose the shining, the bit of light on it is that we can get some money for him now because he has signed that deal. He has got a bit of time left on his contract, so it's not going to be a player that is worth some money that's going to go on a free.
Assuming someone wants to spend money on him, that's the other thing, though, isn't it?
Well, exactly. Like we've all said it, he wasn't never going to get those wages anywhere else. And I think if he's clever enough, then he's going to realise he's not going to get that at 32 anywhere else. He's going to have to take a step down. So we'll see. It'll be interesting in January. It'll be interesting to see whether he comes back in the side. I think we're not going to miss anything from him not being there because at the moment he's not doing it on the pitch and he's not really giving anything off it either. So for me, I don't see the reason, unless he does something unbelievable in training that we're not going to see. There's no reason to put him back in. The players that are able to come in can give just as much, if not more, than what he's been given. I see a stat earlier, and it shocked me. We've had 11 captains in 14 years, and I think when you look at that, and I just think we've all said it, that this isn't a Mickey Mouse club. And I know that the role of captain has changed. I know things have kind of evolved from there, and you have a group of captains, and that's fine. If that's the way modern football is going to go, then it will go that way. But I still believe you need that one leader that you're going to get 35 games a season in the league out of. It's going to be there week in, week out. Like Melvin said earlier, he's put his body on the line for the club, for the shirt, and for the fans, and that's what we've wanted. And we haven't had that since Vieira. And there's been a couple of captains since then that I've appreciated, like Henry. Didn't necessarily think he was a captain as such, but I didn't mind him doing it because he led on the pitch. Cesc Fabregas, maybe you could argue was a good captain, but in terms of a proper leader, it's been far too long. And I think it was Nigel that mentioned it in the chat earlier on. It's the armband. I think I've mentioned it on this channel before. The armband doesn't mean anything anymore, and I think that's the problem. It needs to mean something to somebody now. So for me, I don't think they should name another full-time captain this season. Just go with what we've got. Who plays? If it's Lacazette, give him the armband. If it's Xhaka, let him have the armband. That's fine. And then in the summer, see what we do transfer-wise, and maybe really sit down and think about who can have that armband for the foreseeable, whether that be Tierney, Gabriel. People are talking about Ramsdale as well, potentially. For me, I think Gabriel's a great shout. He's young, he's centre-back, which I think is a perfect position for a captain to be. Don't know how good his English is. If his English is decent, then it's not great. So if we can work on that, I think he would be a great shout for captain. But we'll see. But it's for sure it's the best decision for everybody involved, including Aubameyang, if and when he is given a chance to redeem himself. We'll see. But yeah, we've got to stand by Mikel. He's put himself on the line by making that decision. He's taken that risk, and well, it's not a risk, is it? But in terms of the fans backfiring on him, so fair play to him. He's made the right decision with that. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I like the way as well in the press conference that he was sort of saying it was the club decision. The club have decided, as opposed to I've decided. So kind of deflecting it a little bit from himself. So he's not taking all the credit or all the stick, I suppose. But I guess it is a club decision ultimately as well. But you have to imagine that Arteta had a big say in that as well. And I got the feeling that possibly we have seen Aubameyang play his last game for the club, just from the words that, as you said there, Dorsey, that Mikel Arteta said in the press conference. You do get the feeling that it's quite difficult for a player to come back from this, isn't it? being so publicly, not so much humiliated, but having the captaincy taken off you in such a public way. I don't know if there's any way he can come back from that. And if he does play, will he still give the same amount of? Will he still have the same feeling towards the club as he may have done before? So I think we may well have seen his last game for Arsenal. And, you know, his last kick in an Arsenal shirt, unfortunately, is going to end up being that miss at the last second against Everton. And could be his last kick in an Arsenal shirt, which would be a shame because he has given us some great memories and some great moments. He scored a lot of goals. And for probably 2 years at the beginning, he was a phenomenal player, great striker. That game of Valencia when he scored a hat-trick in the semi-final of the Europa League, just, you know, obviously the FA Cup games the year after, as we said. So, you know, let's not. I don't want people to go in too heavily on Aubameyang. You know, he's not, the captaincy's not been for him. He's not been the right player to have been captain of Arsenal. He's disrespected it. He hasn't took it on board like he should have done. He hasn't learned his lessons from his previous ill discipline, shall we say? And it's probably the best thing. And I just think now that that's it for him. I think he's done. But obviously, you know, you sort of touched on it there, Dorsey, about what do we do now? You know, do we appoint a permanent captain now and say, right, this is it, whoever it might be? Bearing in mind, Tony Adams became captain midway through a season, didn't he? Cesc Fabregas became captain midway through a season, permanent captain. So we've done it before. Are we going to do it again? I mean, Melvin, what would you do? And if we was going to pick a permanent captain now with all the players that we've got currently in the squad, who would you go for to take it forward?
Probably the main usual faces, Gabriel, definitely. Whether he can speak English or not, I think he can communicate on the field. I don't think you have to speak that much English, do you? Really, to communicate what you want. It's all arms anyway, all arms and shouting. I think obviously Tierney, if he can prove his fitness. Perhaps Ben White's a bit too quiet, but he's a thinking man's footballer. He'd probably be okay for that, but I don't think he's aggressive enough, in my opinion. I want aggressive players. I think Gabriel or Tierney are fine for me.
Yeah, I mean, Gabriel, I agree with what was it Doyle said about being a centre-back, being a captain. I think that I agree with that. I think a centre-back is a good position to be captain because you can see the game ahead of you all the time. You can organise things. And yes, you know, whether or not Gabriel's English is the best at the moment, it doesn't seem as though it is. But he doesn't seem to have any problem communicating on the pitch so far in his Arsenal career. So I don't think that should necessarily be a reason. And he's probably one of the stronger candidates for me. He's young. He's probably going to be at the club for a long time. He tends to play every match when he's fit. So it'd probably be a good shout. I mean, I know a lot of people are maybe agreeing with Nigel. He's saying KT. I know a lot of people have fancied KT. I just feel his injury record's maybe a little bit against him. Is he going to play enough games to be regular captain? I do think you need a captain that's going to, as I think Dorsey said, 35 games a season is what you want at least, don't you? So, I mean, Adam, what are you thinking? Do you think we should appoint a permanent captain now, or do you think we should just switch it around with some of the senior players, Lacazette and Xhaka, as we've been doing, and then wait until the end of the season? Or we might as well just do it now because we're probably not going to buy a captain, are we?
No, I don't think that you would never buy a player and put him as captain straight away. It very rarely happens. It has happened, not at Arsenal, I don't think, but it's happened at other clubs. Yeah. But I do think that it's not great to just buy someone, put them straight in as captain. It doesn't really set a good precedent for the people who are already there. But exactly. I also do think it's probably quite realistic that we might not announce one, at least this side of the new year. And it might go on until the end of the year because we have got some senior players that the way I look at it is if you name a full-time captain now, it could potentially put people's noses out of joints as well because you will have people like Lacazette, Xhaka, who have probably all got a shout in it and thinking they should be it. But the way I look at it is I think we've got a good opportunity here to have a captain who could be at the club for a long time rather than just like you just said earlier, having, as he said, like 11 captains in 14 years. I'd like to see someone now being made captain who could be our captain for the next 6, 7, 8 seasons, realistically. And we have thankfully got the players at the right age to do that. I mean, you know, you've mentioned Gabriel. I think Gabriel would be an ideal person because he does lead. He has got the language barrier. I know he's learning, so maybe, you know, get his English up because I know Melvin said, like, you know, on a pitch you don't need it, but you do need it when there's referees involved. You do need to communicate with the referees and put a point across. And if the English is not great, that could be a potential issue. But as a player, yeah, people would follow him 100% because he does lead. He has got that aggression. He has got that bit between his teeth. So I'd love to see someone like that. I think you're right with Ben White. I don't quite think he's there yet on the aggressive side. KT's obviously got qualities, but again, you need someone who is going to play the majority of games. And his injury record at the moment doesn't say that. I mean, there's an argument for Ramsdale. I think it's probably too early for him, but there's an argument if you see the season through, because he does non-stop shout and the defence trust him. I mean, I've always been a bit wary of goalkeepers being captains, but some of them have worked before, so why not? I mean, I think Gabriel's the obvious one. There was some people online today talking about Odegaard as well. I mean, Odegaard only, I think, because he is the Norwegian captain and he got made Norway captain at like 22. So he does have that leadership experience. And, performances like he had on Saturday definitely was showing leadership qualities. I think we're not in a bad position. We've got a good 3 or 4 players that we're talking about as potentials here. But I would, if I had to choose one today, I probably would go Gabriel, if I'm honest with you, purely because the way he plays and he doesn't really, give an inch to anyone. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they wait until the end of the season to announce anything.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, Gabriel would be my probably first choice. Nigel sort of says about Odegaard as well. Odegaard shouts. He hasn't proven himself enough, in my opinion. He hasn't, but as Adam said there, he is captain of his national side. What mind you say is Aubameyang, I suppose. So maybe we shouldn't read too much into that necessarily. But he's been made captain of Norway at a very young age. He does appear to have leadership qualities on the pitch as well. Obviously, you can't question his work rate, as we've said, and that's important as well. So I think he would have a shout, Odegaard, and I think Mikel Arteta was quite keen to sign Odegaard permanently, wasn't he? So he clearly likes the player, he trusts him, so he's got to be in with a shout, Odegaard, I would say, as a permanent captain going forward. But yeah, I suppose it's a good position to be in, maybe, that we've got 2 or 3 potential decent enough options for it. But I mean, Dorsey, I know we talked about it before, that the captaincy these days isn't the same, is it? I mean, you're never going to find a Tony Adams or Patrick Vieira type captain now, just because players aren't like that, are they? And we maybe need to accept that the captain that we're going to have in the future. I mean, even some clubs in the Premier League, I can't even name who their captains are. That's how insignificant it seems to be. Are we making too much of this, maybe, the captaincy role at Arsenal?
I don't know. I think when you look at the leaders we've had at the club, I think they always set the bar, don't they? So when you see a Tony Adams and you see a Patrick Vieira, that's where they set the bar. And when anyone's wearing the armband, that's naturally what you would compare him to. And it would be the same with Liverpool. They would compare all captains to Steven Gerrard, Chelsea with John Terry. All of these clubs that have had captains for a long period of time. And I think in those clubs, especially Liverpool and Arsenal, it does mean something, and it should mean something to have that armband. So yes, although I think it's evolved, and I think the captain maybe doesn't bring as much to the table now as they did 20 years ago. But I think for us as a fan base and as a club, we would like it to still mean that to whoever's wearing it. I think that's kind of what we want. But it's amazing that we've sat here and kind of reeled off a load of names of people that we think could be a good captain. It's amazing that we've got the tough tackling central midfielder Thomas Partey, the enforcer that we've got in the team, and not one person's mentioned him. And I find that telling. And it's not because I think he's a bad player, because I don't. I know he's had a few poor performances, and I know he's admitted himself that he's struggling maybe a little bit to accommodate and acclimatise to the Premier League, which is fine. He's come out and he's taken it on board, and he's admitted that, and that's fine. And he seems like he's willing to work hard to kind of prove to himself that he can do it. But he should be the kind of player that we would be looking at to be a captain. He's a good age. He's been around the block. He's got good experience. It's amazing that people don't talk about him, but I don't see the rush in making another permanent. I don't see the benefit in rushing and giving it to someone permanently. What's the point? We're halfway through the season. Chances are we might see some new faces come January, and especially next summer there might be a bit more change in the squad. So, and I agree, we're not going to go out and sign a captain, but it allows you that period of time to really take stock and see what these players can offer for the remainder of the season, because people like Gabriel and Tierney, Xhaka, all these players would want the armband, I think. And if they don't want it, then they should be asking themselves why they don't want it. But I don't see the benefit in rushing. The only thing I fear is that if they were to make a rash announcement and maybe give it back to Xhaka, and it's not for me to say that that's the wrong choice, because I think we've spoken about it before, that he's one of the proper few players that we've got in the squad that have got real leadership qualities. But again, you're going to put a lot of noses out of joint by doing that. I'm not sure with the position that we're in whether or not that's going to harm you more long term than it maybe should do. So we'll see. We'll see. Another big decision to make for sure, whatever they do.
I mean, you're saying that there's no sort of rush to get a permanent captain in, but I mean, we're going to win a trophy or two this season. You need a permanent captain to pick the trophy up. So I think there is a kind of rush.
Ober's no good in that, is he? Because Aubameyang will drop it. So we don't want
Aubameyang will drop it, but he's not going to be captain anyway. So we need somebody. Yeah, well, first of all, one of the first criteria needs to be they're not going to drop the trophies that we do win. That's the first thing. And secondly, at least maybe Ramsdale. He doesn't drop a lot, does he? So maybe he would be a good choice on that basis, maybe, wouldn't he? But we need to think about that as well, because we're going to obviously win at least 2 cups this season, aren't we? So that's.
Are we even into?
Sorry.
Are we even into?
Yeah, we're only in 2, so we might as well try and win them both, won't we? Nigel says there, one positive out of the situation is the fact that Arteta is further stamping his authority on the side. If it's just 100% his decision, then I agree. Uber wasn't his captain in the first place. No, we said that before, didn't we? And his next appointee will be his chosen leader. That's true, and that's another good point, actually, that the next leader is going to be Arteta's choice. Although he might do what Emery did and put it to the players and let the players decide, because that's what Emery did, didn't he? And they decided Xhaka, which is quite telling, really, because it kind of goes to show the players respect Xhaka. And I know different players are at the club now, and whether the vote would go the same way or not if he did that, I don't know. But I don't think that should be the way. I think the manager should say, you're my captain, and I'm putting my trust in you to do the job, whoever that is. And whoever it is, I think us as fans, even if it's not a player that we want, if it happens to be Granit Xhaka, well, I wouldn't have a problem with. I've got to be honest. We've got to back the manager's decision and say, okay, he's his captain. That's who he wants, and we need to support that. Whether we agree with it or not is another matter. But we need to support that decision. Otherwise, it's just going to be ridiculous, isn't it? Whatever decision it is, if it's Xhaka, if it's somebody else, we need to get behind that decision. Because to me, now I don't feel the captain is the most important issue at the club, at any club really. And it's become an issue at our club because our captains have been poor for a number of years, but one after the other consecutively, if I look at it. So, but yeah, ultimately, I don't know whether or not have it hanging over us is a good thing. Maybe make a decision. This is my captain. Arteta knows the players. He's known them long enough to make a decision, I think, now, or by, certainly by January, to say that this is going to be my captain going forward. And I think he should make that decision as soon as possible rather than dragging it on, really, just because that way we can trust Arteta then, rather than if he's indecisive. I don't think that's a good thing. He needs to make us and say, right, you're my captain. I'm going to announce it. You're the captain. That's it. And it's done. And then we all forget that issue and just move on and forget that and look at all the other issues that we've got, but not that one anymore. So I'd like to see him do it. I'd like to see him be strong. He's made a strong decision today. I want him to be strong now and pick his captain and say, you're the guy I'm putting my faith in. And if it's a young player, if it's Erdegaard, if it's Gabriel, if it's Kieran Tierney, whoever it is, or if it's a more experienced player, Lacazette or Xhaka, or whoever it might be, whoever it is, make that decision and say, well, you're my man, and I'm going to put my trust in you to lead this team on the pitch going forward. And that's what he needs to do. And then whoever that is, if it's someone young, if it's Gabriel, he can grow into the role as well, can't he? Tony Adams wasn't captain straight. He was made captain, but he wasn't a captain straight away, was he? He grew into the role and he adapted to it, and he got stronger on the back of it. And maybe Gabriel could do the same. He's a similar sort of age. I think Tony Adams was like 22, 23, wasn't he, when he was given the captaincy? So, Gabriel's a similar age. He could grow into the role as well. So, but we'll see. I just want Arteta to make a decision and say, right, this is it. I've made this decision. This is it now, and it's done. And we can draw a line under it, and we can move on, because I think this has been going on for a little while anyway. The whole Aubameyang thing, and we need to just get it over and move on.
No, what I will say, Rich, is that with Arteta, listen, I've defended him, and maybe in some cases not rightly so. He's made his mistakes throughout the course of the last couple of years for sure. But what I respect about him is he lives and dies by his own sword. People take the piss out of this. Trust the process. These non-negotiables that he's put in place. But the one thing that he's done, and you can see it from a million miles away, he is slowly getting back that culture that we've missed within the club. He's making changes in and around the club. He's bringing. He wants to bring back what it means to play for this club. And nobody can question that. And I think what he will do, whether he's the right man for the job or not, what he will do is he will live and die by his own sword. If you don't agree to what he's put in place, then he will push to make the call. Whether this was his call to drop Aubameyang, it was probably a conversation with the club. But I fully believe that Arteta would have recommended that captaincy was taken away from Aubameyang, and he would have given reasons behind why, and the club would have, I would like to think, say, you know what, if that's what you believe, that's what you think is right for the team, you go and do it. You know, he's told him face to face, he's been a man, he's not doing anything. So I think, and that's the one thing I like about Arteta, is he's going to live or die by his own sword. He'll either make it and it will be a huge success, or it won't. But he will do it his way, and if it doesn't work, then that's fine. And I will always have respect to him for doing that.
No, I kind of agree with that, and I think you're right. He does tend to. He's very set in his ways. He's not going to be sort of pulled away from what he wants, and he'll go ahead and do it, whether or not it's anyone else thinks it's the right decision or not. And I suppose you're right. Maybe he does deserve respect for that. And I think we've disagreed with a lot of his decisions, a lot of the things that he's done so far in his Arsenal management career. But like you said, he has stuck to his guns, I guess, most of the time. And for good or bad, like you said, he's going to have to live with those decisions, isn't he? Because they're going to be the ones that's either going to make him a success or a failure, and it's going to be down to him. And I totally agree. So maybe we do need to look at that. Nigel says there in the chat, he says, with Uber and Laka seemingly on borrowed time, one of them probably a little bit more borrowed than the other, who's starting the centre forward next season? Well, I think we need to buy somebody, don't we? Quite honestly, I think we can't start next season with Lacazette, obviously at the end of his contract anyway, if he doesn't sign, and obviously Aubameyang, who's probably never going to be back to his best anyway. So we need to sign somebody. I mean, Melvin, who would you want to play centre forward next season for Arsenal?
Very difficult question. I mean, we're going to actually get rid of
three difficult question.
I mean, there's, Eddie's going as well, it looks like.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Who's about? I don't even know who's about. Everyone's talking about the Everton centre forward, but I'm not too sure about spending 60 million on someone that's had one half decent season. He played a couple of years for Everton. He didn't really pull up any trees. So no, I'm not happy. It's very difficult. There's no one in mind actually. I thought that this season, if you're going to have a player, a forward arriving late in the box, which we haven't had with Lacazette or Aubameyang, it's a shame that he's not a year older. Martinelli and a year more experience. He could have fitted that role. Not playing as a centre forward, but playing as like a Michael Owen type player, because the football we play could suit that. Are we going back to the old Giroud situation, Richard? I don't know. You're looking for a centre forward like that?
I think Martinelli's a good. Is he a centre forward? I'm not sure. He's a forward, but is he a centre forward? And that's the question. Maybe I like to see. Obviously, we want to see him playing a lot more games and more regularly in the team. Is he the answer, centre forward? I think someone else and Martinelli is the answer. I mean, I agree with Adako in the chat. Not his first one, Calvert-Lewin, but certainly Ivan Toney. I'm a big fan of him, and I think he would give us an extra option as a centre forward, and he could help to bring the other players into the game. He's going to get goals. He's a threat. He's quick. He's strong. He's got everything for a centre forward in the Premier League for me, and he would be the one. And I'm sure, realistically, someone we can possibly get, isn't he? And if we can't buy players from Brentford, we've got trouble, haven't we? Let's be honest.
He's aggressive as well, which I like for a forward.
Yeah, he is aggressive. Yeah, he is. He's physical. He's a physical player. He's a nuisance to defenders.
How old is he?
23, 24, is he?
Is he younger than that? I thought he was a bit older than that.
No, I don't think he is.
8-9 level.
No, he's pretty young still, and he's at the right age. I think he's at the right age. He's going to really blossom, and he's not scoring hundreds of goals for Brentford in the Premier League. He scored a lot in the Championship, and I think he's going to.
He's 25.
25, is he? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. Yeah, he's at the right age, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's at a good age. We could get him now. He's got 4 or 5 of his best years ahead of him now in the Premier League, and we could get that at our club. So he would be one I would look at. I like players that play in the Premier League because they don't need to adapt to the new country, a new league. So I would go for someone like him. I mean, Adam, who would you maybe like to see centre forward next season? I mean, if not Martinelli, someone that we bring in.
Do you know what? I'm kind of like, I'm not sure yet. I've got to be honest with you. Like, there's no obvious people out there like who I could kind of say, let's go out and get him. A lot of people are talking about the guy from Lille, Jonathan David. And I haven't really seen much of him, but what I have seen, he looks quite good. But we signed someone from Lille, and that hasn't really worked out, has it? So I'm, a bit skeptical about that. Even the guy from Fiorentina that we're on about, Vlahovic, I watched a bit of Italian football, and he looks good, very much the kind of like Giroud kind of mould. But
not going to come there, is he? Not interested, though, is he? He's not interested, is he?
But also, even though he is quite a tall fella, he does get knocked off the ball fairly easy. Even though he is quite tall, you look at him, you think, he's obviously got a bit of that. He can score goals and he's quite skillful, but he does seem to get knocked off the ball more than he probably should. I love the guy, the Italian guy who was in the Euros, that Chiesa. I think he's spot on, but I don't think we could probably afford someone like him. But if I could choose anyone, I'd love someone like him because I think he is just an incredible player. The way he plays football, he can play anywhere along that front three as well. I mean, I'd love him. So I guess Tony is a good shout. I do think Tony's a good shout. He's 25. He's getting a year under his belt in the Premier League in a team where he's probably not getting the chances that he would in a team like Arsenal. Let's be honest. And when he is getting chances, he's still scored half a dozen goals so far this season.
Yeah. He's still
he looks
goals,
and by all accounts, he's an Arsenal fan. Although you hear that quite a lot. So you would think that he would jump at the chance to come and join us. But I prefer Tony over Calvert-Lewin, definitely.
Yeah.
But looking at the two of those, 100%. Calvert-Lewin, he's got his injury problems. He has had a good season, but I think Tony looks pretty good. Or Chiesa, if we could really push the boat out, that'd be nice.
I mean, Nigel's put a comment there. Lorenzo Martinez, of course, from Inter is decent, 24 years of age, fit the profile. Yeah, he may do. But again, you see, you're getting players in from other countries, other leagues. They've got to adapt, and that could take 6 months, a season. Sometimes we've seen before. So I don't know. I maybe prefer to look at in the Premier League. I think there's plenty of decent players in the Premier League playing for so-called smaller clubs that could come and do a good job for us. I mean, what are you thinking, Dorsey, then about obviously if Aubameyang is leaving in January, we may actually need to buy a striker in January if we're going to really push on for the top four. We could be in a good position in January without a main goal scorer. We might need to buy someone this quickly, mightn't we?
Yeah, I mean, put it this way: come the end of the season, we're not going to. Well, come the start of next season, either at least one of Aubameyang and Lacazette are not going to be there, if not both. So. And I don't think the options that we've got. I love Martinelli. I really do, and we've talked about him enough on the show. We wanted to see him play more minutes. I think he's made a difference coming in the last few weeks. Is he ready? I don't believe he's centre forward. They may be trying to kind of transition him more into that kind of position, but I don't think he's ready to take that mantle up week in, week out yet. Eddie's the same. Even if he does stay. Balogun obviously has not got a huge amount of Premier League experience. He obviously started the game at the start of the season, and that was pretty much him done for the season so far. So we're going to need to invest someone, but it depends on what you're looking to invest. That Martinez from Inter Milan, I think he's a very, very good player. But I mean, you're looking at 70, 80 million for him by all accounts. That's the figures that I've seen banded around. So are we going to go and put that amount of money into one player? Probably not, unless it's the perfect fit. So
Calvert-Lewin would probably be about the same, wouldn't he?
Well, this is it. I do actually like Calvert-Lewin because I think he's got a little bit of everything around him. He's technically very good, but he's so good in the air as well. So he gives you a bit of options in terms of a centre forward. But I agree with both what Adam and Melvin have said. He's been in the Premier League for a while, and it's only really the last year or so, 18 months, that he's really kind of started to set up, and he may well have injury problems as well by the looks of it. Has he even played this season? I'm not even sure. I think he started a couple of games, did he?
He did, at the start of the season he was playing.
Yeah, and he's been out since. Maybe there's a question mark around that. Tony would be a good shout. He's not gonna break the bank, I don't think. Like you say, there's no reason why he wouldn't want to leave Brentford to join Arsenal. I don't think. And he's a good age. He's 25 years old. He's only going to get better, so he would be a good shout. The other one is no one's talked about is Mbappe, free transfer. He's available to talk to. We can talk to him from January. Why would you not? Why not get him? Perfect age.
Let's think big. Let's think big. There's an interesting one here, actually. There's an interesting one in the chat here from Shane. He says Haller doing a job at Ajax. He's the one who plays for West Ham, isn't he?
Yeah, but he didn't.
Particularly good at West Ham, and I know the Dutch league is different, but an interesting shout. I've not heard that one mentioned before for Arsenal, actually. Nigel there's got another maybe interesting one. We've heard this before. Tammy Abraham, he's flying as well now, isn't he?
He was desperate to join us, wasn't he? By all accounts, people said he wanted to come to us, but Chelsea wouldn't sanction the move. And actually, I think that would have been a good move for all parties. I wouldn't have been against that at all.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have been against it either. Actually, I don't know. I think now, I think Ivan Toney should be top of the list. You know, if we're going to get anybody in January. Adako says Newcastle are in danger. Right, yeah, they are. They might offer huge money for Ober or Lacazette. Well, probably not for Lacazette because he hasn't got any contract left. If they need to make a quick result in January, the player has experience. No, I mean, I think Aubameyang to Newcastle wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility, would it? I wouldn't have thought. Bearing in mind, you know, they desperately need some goals, and he could provide goals, and he can score in the Premier League. We know that, and they'd probably pay decent money for him, wouldn't they? 25 million or something, 30 million maybe. That could be an option, I suppose, to get some money in January, and then who knows? We could put that towards Tammy Abraham. And Daka says
if anyone comes in with that kind of money, I think you've got to be taking it. If someone comes in for 25, 30 million.
He'd have to accept the wage drop, though, wouldn't he? Because, like you said, that no one else is going to offer him that kind of contract that we have. Dako says, I don't see Everton would sell Lewin, probably not, actually. But if Antonio is possible, if we offer good money for him, Brentford had to sell their top striker before. Yeah, they did. Obviously, they sold him to Aston Villa, didn't they? Adam's back. He just dropped out there. A few internet issues and what happened. He's dropped out, but he's back again. So it's fine. Let's hope he can stay with us a bit longer this time. He did a little drop out. It looks like he's frozen again, actually.
Yeah, it looks like he's stuck.
Few internet issues going on in Adam's land. But I mean, yeah, it could be the weather, the mild weather. That's what it is. You see, he did mention that before. Because it's the mild weather playing with his internet. Maybe we need a few more storms. That's all it out. Obviously, you know, a lot of stuff's going on at the minute at Arsenal, but we do actually have a game tomorrow night, which actually is quite a big game, quite an important game in terms of the Premier League and the positions that we're in. So I suppose we should really look ahead to that. Obviously, West Ham, we've got a great record against them at home, particularly in recent years. And, you know, it's a game where we generally do well in, but they're having a great season. And although they've maybe gone off the boil a little bit in the last couple of games, not maybe firing as much as you would have expected them to, it's going to be a very difficult game. But ultimately, it's a big game and a real good opportunity for us to, I mean, if we beat them, we go above them and we could be in the top four coming out of Christmas. I mean, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Who would have thought that? I mean, Melvin, what are you thinking ahead of this game for West Ham? Because obviously it's a big game for both clubs. It's an important game and it's going to be a tough game for us, but we do have this great record against them.
Even when we play badly at home, like we've done the last few seasons, we haven't deserved to beat them the last 3 or 4 seasons.
No.
And we've managed to beat them. Listen, all I know is the last couple of seasons, every time we get our hopes up, every time we've got something that we really need to do, we fail. I hope it's not like that tomorrow night. I'm going and I've got my doubts because every time we thought, if we just win this, we'd be fourth. And then we get beat, we think we don't deserve to be fourth. So it doesn't add up, does it? You know, we're thinking that we could be there, but are we actually that good to be there? They say the table never lies. Well, I'm not too sure about that. Sometimes it tells lies. We don't feel, in my opinion, we don't feel like a top 4 club at the moment. I'd love to see us there. I'd love to see us do it tomorrow night. You'll see my predictions later. But we always seem to, we've got a habit of letting ourselves down. And let's get over this. It's a hurdle tomorrow night to get over because we've let the team have let us down twice in the last 3 games, big games. And tomorrow's another big hurdle. When we've just got climbed up that hill a little bit, just need to get over the top. Are we going to get punched down? And that's my fear. Let's see how good we really are. Let's see if we give it all and go for them and beat them because I don't want, if we fail tomorrow night, I think that even whoever we beat the next game, we'll always have that doubt when we play a team that's near us or above us in the league. I don't want that. It's a horrible feeling. We've really got to get over that hurdle. And hopefully tomorrow night might be the first time we can do that. As I say, it's a big game for West Ham, enormous. Every game's a big game for West Ham now. And this is the first time as an Arsenal supporter, I've been supporting them a few years, as you know, that I've gone into an Arsenal-West Ham game at Highbury or at the Emirates. And I think the neutrals probably think West Ham are favourites. That's never happened before since I've been supporting the club. And that's where we are. So
I mean, I think you're right. We need to put in a performance against one of the top teams. I mean, they're in the top 4, West Ham, so that needs to be taken into account. But our record at home this season has been really good. 6 wins in 8 games, and the last two, sorry, we've won 1-0. No, the last three, we've won 1-0, 2-0, and 3-0. So maybe we do a 4-0 now to complete the run, and then 5-0 against the next home game, which is it Norwich? No,
City. Is it City?
Oh, it's City. There you go. Oh, there you go. 5-0. That'll get revenge for earlier in the season, won't it? So, but I mean, our home form's been really good actually, and it's strange because in the very first period when Arteta came in, when fans were still in the ground, we had a good record at home. We only lost one game at the Emirates under Arteta. Then obviously there was no fans in. We saw how poor our home form was, and now we've got fans back in, and our home form's good again. In fact, I think we've got the best home record in the Premier League this season so far. 6 wins and 1 draw out of 8 games. That's brilliant, really. We're not conceding many goals at home, and I think that's in our favour. And, you know, West Ham have been not quite on their top form the last few games. They're struggling to score goals. Antonio's not scoring, but then they had beat Liverpool and Chelsea quite recently as well, although that was at home. I mean, Dorsey, what are you thinking from this? Because our home form in general and our home record against West Ham both suggest that we've got a great chance of winning this game.
Yeah, it does. I'm kind of with Melvin a bit. My head and my heart are telling me two different results. It's, you know, you're looking at this as another opportunity, and I know we spoke about the United game and the Everton game, and none of us thought there was any possibility we were going to lose both of those. None of us. And it was so it is that hope that just kind of gets you. And I really don't know what to expect tomorrow. Because like you said, Rich, I think the home record, although statistically has been very good, I think the performances have kind of deceived it a little bit, like with the tight wins against Norwich, and you know, there's a couple of wins there where you just think, well, you should really be scoring 3 or 4 there in those games. I can't say I'm massively confident going into it, if I'm honest. We should be going into it looking to get the 3 points, but there's something holding me back from getting too carried away with what I think the result's going to be. But it's a huge opportunity. You win that, you go into the top 4. It breeds a whole new level of confidence throughout the team, throughout the fan base. You know, it makes a big difference. So we'll see, and just have to keep everything crossed that we can nick a win. I don't care how we win it. If it's 1-0, then that's fine with me.
No, exactly. I mean, this is a sort of game where you take a 1-0. We're maybe home to Watford or Norwich. You expect more, don't you? Maybe, but certainly not in this one. Craig's in the chat there. He says we've got a good record with West Ham and Moyes at home. Yeah, I don't think Moyes has ever won a game away at Arsenal in his whole career. So
don't say that.
Well, it's not me. It's just a fact. I can't help the statistics. That's just what they are. He says we aren't good enough to be fourth, but look at the other teams that are up there: Tottenham, Man United, both by the uses. That's a good point. Let's be the best of a bad bunch. I agree. I do think that there's the top 3 of the top 3, and then pretty much anybody else could get that 4th spot because it's so tight in points, and no one's putting together consistent results over a long enough period. I mean, West Ham have done the best at everyone else so far, but even they've lost games recently. They've not been at their best either. So, you know, we need to look at it from that point of view as well. Shane says, how long more before fans are not let into games? Yeah, I mean, we don't know yet. That could happen again, couldn't it? The way things are heading at the minute, who knows? I mean, already it's becoming a bit more difficult to get in. I mean, you'll have to on Wednesday, Mervyn, you're gonna have to leave early to get in because they'll be checking everybody's things. So you'll take 4 hours to get into the game tomorrow night, won't it? So that's going to be fun for you. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I mean, Adam, obviously, what are you thinking about this West Ham game? Are you confident that we can? Because obviously, if we win, we go above them, and that would be a brilliant kind of turnaround in the season when you think of where we've been this season. To actually be above West Ham, who have been in the top 4 most of the season, that would actually be a significant result, I think.
It does sound crazy that, you know, with the West Ham, we move above them in the table, and I mean no disrespect to West Ham at all. I've got a lot of friends who are West Ham fans, and I get on with them well, and I've never had issues with the club at all. But it is going to be a challenge because of the way they play. They are a physical side. They are very strong. They are pretty good in all positions at the moment, and I think Moyes has got them playing very much as a unit. So I don't mind watching them play. I mean, I was quite impressed when they beat Liverpool, quite impressed when they beat Chelsea. They don't give up. I'm not going to get too ahead of myself because, you know, the last time we had 2 games in quick succession, we all know what happened. So I don't really want to go too crazy, but it's a winnable game. Yeah. West Ham will also be thinking the same, though. West Ham will also be thinking we could go to the Emirates and get a win that we haven't done for quite a few years. And it's probably going to be one of the better chances they've had for the past few years as well. But we do have a good record against West Ham, and sometimes you do have these teams that no matter how well or how bad you play, you do get results against. And I really hope that West Ham is one of them. So, yeah, I mean, again, I'm like Dorsey. My head and my heart are telling me two different things. I mean, I'll go through my predictions a little bit later, but I'd like to just see the same level of performance against Southampton after 15 minutes. And if we can get that, then we should be all right. I'm not going tomorrow night. Actually, I'm missing it tomorrow night. And it's about time I let you in. A couple of weeks ago, I teased something where I thought the secret was. So I'm going to tell you all now. The secret to our winning formula is not me going. I've got a lucky pair of underwear.
Right.
I thought it's about time. I've been testing the theory, and I'm pretty certain now. So I've only missed the Chelsea and the Palace games this year at home. And we didn't win those. Every other game I've been to this season at home, we've won, and I've been wearing the same pair of pants. They've been washed between those, so don't worry.
Okay. That's good to hear.
So, and on the occasions where I've noticed we've lost away from home, they've not been on. So
it's your fault. It's your fault.
My pants' fault.
Everybody's saying Arteta out. It should be Adam out because it's your fault. You're letting the club down.
Now's a good time to be taking the pressure off Mikel. He's had a bit of a hard run. So I think I'll take the heat off that, and then so I've made sure that tomorrow night, even though I'm not going, they're fresh. So
very noble of you, Adam, to take the pressure off. Very noble.
Exactly.
So if we don't win tomorrow, it's also your fault.
But no, I mean, I'm gutted. I'm not going tomorrow night. Actually, I quite like usually West Ham evening games, but yeah, I can't make it. Got work commitments and stuff. So yeah, unfortunately.
No, it's a shame because I do think it's going to be quite a good. Well, it's going to be a good game, a very good game, a big game, important game, and it's going to be decent to watch, I would imagine as well. And Craig in the chat there says West Ham finished above us last year. Yeah, they did. This shouldn't be too much of a surprise, to be honest. A well-drilled and good side. If anybody wants, I'll be hanging out negative COVID tests outside the ground, handing out negative COVID tests. Well, yeah, that'd be a good idea. I'm sure you'll maybe sell for a fiver or something like that. Make a good little business going because that seems to be what's going on with all the testing at the minute. So yeah, perhaps if you need one, just find Craig outside the ground. He can get you in, no problem at all. That'd be great. So yeah, that might speed up the whole process as well, hopefully. Bargab in the chat there says, I'm embarrassed by our club this week. Why is it our club is the only one that's a big drama show year in? It seems to be, but that's why Amazon have took it on, haven't they? Because they want it to become a drama, and it's obviously going to be great TV next summer. I'm sure everyone will be watching it. We'll be hiding behind the sofa watching it probably most of it the way through, I would have thought. But anyway, it's going to be good TV. I don't have any doubt about that. And that's just where we are as a club at the minute, isn't it? There doesn't seem to be a day goes by when there isn't something going on, some sort of drama somewhere at a club. Either we're losing games on the pitch or players are doing this, that and the other, whatever it is.
I've got an idea. Next year, after the Amazon one, there might be another TV programme. Ant and Deck will be fronting it. It's called I'm an Arsenal supporter. Get me out of here.
Yeah. I'm an Arsenal captain. Get me out of here. Well, probably.
Yeah.
That'll probably be more what it'll be. And what we'll do actually, I mean, we're going to do a slightly different archive section this week, just because we've covered a lot of season. I thought it's coming up to Christmas and stuff, so we maybe do something a little bit different because we've got 2 games. I thought, why don't we look at maybe previous games some memories that we've got playing West Ham and playing Leeds. So obviously we're talking about West Ham. So let's start with a few. I know obviously Melbourne's always got some great memories from prehistoric times when it was big level balls with laces and stuff like that. So what's the story with West Ham, Melvin?
Right, well, my first memory of West Ham is going to Upton Park with my father, 1965, I can remember, and it was a light blue paint they used to have all around the ground on these things, all light blue everywhere, and there was posters up, and it was advertising they were playing in the Cup Winners' Cup, West Ham. He said, I'll never forget, he said, Melvin, he says, when we're a big club, we're playing those competitions, right? Honestly, he said that, 65. Then also that game, we went 1-0 up, really quite near the end of the game, went 1-0 up. We had the worst seat in the ground. We were right by the edge of the seat, and it had these big glass, and the sun was out, and it kept going. We couldn't see past the glass because we stopped, and we just couldn't. Anyway, we went 1-0 up, not long to go, and they scored 2 goals, I think, in the last minute. They beat us 2-1, and it was horrible, absolutely horrible. That was my first memory of a West Ham game. And then the next season, we played them in the League Cup, which was it called the League Cup? I can't remember. I think it was called the League Cup, but it was very limited competition. There was only a few teams in it, not like there is now, even less. And it was their chance of winning something, because I've never seen Arsenal win anything. We played home to West Ham, and they murdered us 3-1. Peters and Hurst scored all the goals. I think Hurst got 2, Peters got 1. Obviously, you know, so that was another sad one. But I did go to an Arsenal game that we beat them. March 19. Well, didn't have to wait this time, but this is a game that I remember. March 1976, we beat them 6-1 with Brian Kidd.
Yeah.
I think whatever he did, it went in. It was we absolutely murdered them. And was it Day in goal? They had a goalkeeper called Day.
Mervyn Day,
Mervyn Day,
He just couldn't get it. I think he went to Leeds and had a good career there, actually. Then I went, obviously, to the 1980 Cup final, the Brooking Cup final. That was horrible. Absolutely horrible. They were in the lower division than us. And that was the last time, I think, the FA Cup's been won by a lower division team. So that was...
I think it is,
work. Oh, yeah, and then also, though we won, it was a bit sad. 1983, I went to Upton Park. We won 3-1. I think it was the last game. Yeah, it was the last game of the season. And one of my favourite players played his last game, made a goal, scored a goal. Petrovic. Oh, I love watching him. And we knew it was the last game, and it was that we won.
Yeah, I remember that.
Also, I went to the famous game at Upton Park when Vieira got sent off, when Canio scored twice.
Neil Ruddock, he spat at Neil Ruddock, didn't
he? Something should have happened to him, in my opinion, being as biased as I am, because he goaded him, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Anyway, Canio scored a couple of decent goals. We got one near the end, 10 minutes ago. Sukker scored. In that game, each team got 6 yellow cards.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And both had a player sent off. They had a player sent off in the last minute of the game.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That takes me up to 1994, so I thought I'd let you take it from there.
What are you trying to say, that we're a lot younger than you, Melvin? Is that
what
it is?
Just saying the truth. That's all.
But the other two guys are. I'm maybe a bit older. Dorsey, you've probably got some great memories of West Ham. I'll say it is a game that we generally win pretty often. So I'm guessing you've got a few memories of lots of good wins against them.
Yeah, a few that I picked out. I didn't really have that much time to do a lot of digging in the history books, but there was a couple that kind of stood out. I remember 97 at Highbury. I think we won. I think it was 4-0. Bergkamp scored. Wrighty scored. That was the first one that kind of stood out to me. The other two that jumped out at me were both at Upton Park, actually. The 2002, it was actually 2-2, but it was when Omri scored that absolute thunderbolt.
We were 2-0 down.
Came into him, he turned. I could watch that goal on repeat all day. The ferocity that hit the net was just ridiculous. And then actually one more recent than that was at Upton Park, and we won 5-1. Alexis Sanchez scored a hat trick.
Yeah.
And that was. I mean, he was. We've all got our own opinions on him after him leaving, but what a player he was when he was with us. And that hat trick he scored, I think it might have been the third one, when he went to shoot and put his foot over did a little step over and then dinked it. Brilliant. I think Chamberlain scored in that game as well, didn't he? Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think he got
one. That was a good goal he scored, actually.
Yeah, he did get a good goal, and that was a good win, that one. I enjoyed that game. But those were the kind of the three games that initially jumped out at me. But it's more often than not, it's quite a tight game, isn't it, between Arsenal and West Ham? Although we do generally do quite well against them.
Yeah, we normally come out on top. Yeah, like you said, maybe the odd goal or whatever it is here and there, either way. But we tend to perhaps just slightly edge it usually. We've had a couple of big wins. That 5-1 that was actually at the London Stadium. It wasn't at Upton Park, but that was. That was a great performance from Arsenal, actually. And Alexis Sanchez, he was at his peak then, wasn't he, for us? That was the season where everything he was doing was magical. And that particular hat-trick was one of the best hat-tricks. I mean, it's not quite up there with Dennis Bergkamp's hat-trick at Leicester, but it's certainly as good a hat-trick as you'll see in the Premier League, isn't it? You don't get many better hat-tricks than that you got that night. I mean, that third goal, as you said, what a fantastic bit of skill that was. To have that much composure about running through. A VAR would have disallowed that goal for offside, I think, now. But you know, it doesn't take away from the fact it was a fantastic finish when he got there. But yeah, that was a great memory. That actually a really good game as well. And obviously last season as well, the 3-3 draw. I mean, that was incredible.
Yeah.
Wasn't 3-3 down to come back and get a draw. That was a strange game, but exciting nonetheless. I mean, Adam, you must have quite a lot of memories at West Ham as well. Obviously, you know, like you said, you know a lot of West Ham fans like I do. So I'm sure there's been a bit of needle going on between you and your mates over this game.
We've always been pretty good with West Ham fans. Like with my group of friends growing up, it was generally Arsenal or West Ham, a couple of Spurs, a couple of United, and some randoms thrown in. But Arsenal and West Ham were always the dominant teams in my kind of friends and that. So I've always kind of, you know, because my mates, you always kind of a bit of a. I've never had an issue with West Ham, but I've always liked West Ham because we generally do always do well against them. I mean, I had the one with Sanchez hat-trick picked out as well because I think that night, I think he scored 3 in about 12 minutes, wasn't it? It was a really quick second half hat-trick, and he was just like, it was like he already thought, right, now I need to play. Clicks into gear, bosh. And that was great. There was one at at the Emirates as well, looking at 2013, and we hadn't actually been playing too well. It was a night game. It was freezing cold. They went 1-up, and I was thinking, oh, there we go.
Oh, I remember that. Was that when one of the West Ham players got a serious injury and the game was held up for ages, wasn't it?
Held up for ages, yeah. It was Jack Collinson scored the goal for there. Can't remember who got injured, but then it kind of put them off their stride a bit, and we ended up doing 5-1 and absolutely walking all over them. And it could have been 8, 9, 10. It was that one side, and we had like Cazorla was at his best then. Like it was.
I think we scored 4. We scored 4 in about 10 minutes, didn't we? In the second half, we just absolutely ripped them to pieces. I remember that was a great performance.
Second half, we kind of come out straight from the half time, scored 4 in the first 10 minutes or something, and it was ridiculous. And we could have gone on and scored more. We were so ruthless; it was unreal. And then another one, randomly enough, was Highbury, probably 97, 98. We won 2-0, I think it was. It was really scrappy, but the only reason I remember it is that West Ham had a striker at the time called Steve Jones. He went on and played for Charlton, and he used to drink in my local. So I kind of knew him, and I just remember I'd been to the game that day, and he'd come into the local at night, and we were just giving him a load of grief. And he was all right. He was pretty good about it, and he's still knocking about my old. I don't live there anymore, but when I went down a couple of years ago, he was still knocking about in the same pub.
Did he come from non-league? Adam?
Yeah, he come up from non-league. He played locally in Essex, where I'm from. He went on to play for Charlton afterwards as well, Bournemouth. More kind of like, lower leagues and that. But he was a decent enough striker. But yeah, he played in the Premier League, so he had that to say so. And the weird thing was, I remember being at the game, and he actually was probably one of their better players. He actually played all right. But yeah, me and my mates who have been to the game were just giving him a load of grief. And to be fair, he took it all right. So that just is a personal memory of mine as well. So yeah, generally we're pretty good about West Ham games.
Yeah, I mean, like yourself. I mean, when I was younger at school, I lived in a big West Ham area in Essex as well, and pretty much everyone was a West Ham fan. And the 1980 Cup final, I got pretty much a lot of stick for about a week at school every day after that game, which it wasn't much fun. So, so I've never really forgiven West Ham for that, really, because it made my life hell for about a week or so. But yeah, I mean, we've had some great games against them over the years, haven't we? Some good, great performances. My first ever Arsenal away game was West Ham. Not really an away game; it was just up the road. But that was my first proper away game. We won 2-1. Chris White scored his first ever goal for Arsenal in that game, and Stuart Robson made his debut actually as well. And we won 2-1, and that was my first ever away game, 1981 it was. And yeah, that was John Hollins scored a penalty for us. And I remember the away end at West Ham at Upton Park, you were stuck in the corner. And I was only sort of small then, I couldn't really see anything. And I didn't even know we'd scored, and only because the people were jumping around, I thought, we must have scored there, because I couldn't see anything. Couldn't see the goal, because it was all the barriers were in the way and fences, and you were just stuck in the corner, and it was horrible. But I always remember that because it was my first ever away game. And that one that you mentioned before, Melvin, when Petrovic scored that goal, he was brilliant that night. He ran that game, didn't he, against West Ham at Upton Park. He was absolutely fantastic. And I'll never forget that irony. Obviously, his last goal for the club and everything like that was good. And one that maybe not such a good memory in a way, but it was a good memory for me. The only time I saw Liam Brady play in a proper game was West Ham away, and he scored. They beat us, I think, 3-1, and he scored for West Ham in front of the Arsenal fans. And I remember even the Arsenal fans were like clapping the goal, because it was Liam Brady that had scored it. I never saw him play for Arsenal because he left before I was sort of.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I never saw him play for Arsenal, but I did see him play for West Ham that night, and I thought, wow, what I missed out there. And I did see him playing a testimonial. I think it was Pat Jennings' testimonial he played, didn't he, against Tottenham at Highbury. I went to that as well. But I'll never forget that West Ham game when he scored. I was so excited to see him play because I knew all about him, but I'd never seen him play for Arsenal.
He was different class, Richard. He was as good as they say.
Yeah. No, I've seen videos of him, and it's one regret that I was too young to really see him play for Arsenal, actually, because that would have, I know what a great player he was, and to see him play that day for West Ham, he was in his 30s or whatever he was at the end of his career, but he was brilliant for that night, and he scored a great goal as well, and he almost felt embarrassed to have scored it, actually. You know, the Arsenal fans were cheering him, the West Ham fans were cheering him, and it was a great moment, actually. And it was just a shame that West Ham won the game because it would have been nice for him to have scored and Arsenal won. But anyway, so that was one that really sticks in my mind just for that memory, really. And, you know, the only time I saw him play in a competitive game. So that was nice. But, yeah, there's been so many over the years. Obviously, in recent years, we've had some pretty good wins at home, actually. Apart from the first game of the season, Petr Cech's debut. Do you remember that? When he
1-0 we got
and we lost 2-0.
2-0 was Petr Cech mistake, wasn't it a mistake for Petr Cech?
2 mistakes for both the goals on his debut, and we're thinking, wow, what have we got here? And it was no good for me because my boss at the time was a West Ham fan, and I've been saying to him, "Are we going to hammer you guys in the first game of the season?" Of course, we end up losing 2-0, and I looked a bit stupid on the Monday at work. But anyway, but that was one that sticks in my mind for that reason, really. And obviously, Petr Cech went on to have a decent enough career at Arsenal, but yeah, that was the last time West Ham won at the Emirates. That was actually that first game, 2015.
They were famously the last team to beat us at Highbury and the first team to beat us at the Emirates, weren't they?
Yeah, of course, that last one at Highbury was the Sol Campbell game, wasn't it? When he walked out at half time, and that was our last defeat at Highbury. And then obviously they were the first team to win at the Emirates as well, visiting team. It was one. I can't remember who scored the goal now, and that was a good goal.
When come from Newcastle scored or Liverpool, it was a big geezer.
Yeah, I think it was Liverpool. Yeah.
No, the guy who scored the goal was the guy from Liverpool, Newcastle.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Yeah, with his head.
Andy Carroll.
Was it Andy Carroll that scored that goal?
Yeah. Andy Carroll was after that. Andy Carroll was a good few years after that for them.
Yeah, I didn't think it was Andy Carroll that scored that goal. I know I got a picture in my head who it is. I just can't think of his name. I remember the goal. It was a long range shot, wasn't it? It went in the top corner.
Oh, I'm thinking of a header. Sorry, I'm thinking when the goalie went up with his hand, the geezer jumping ahead.
No, that was Newcastle. That's when he played for Newcastle.
Oh, it was Newcastle. Sorry, right.
Yeah, it's when he played for Newcastle. That goal, I remember that one. But no, I'm trying to think who scored that West Ham goal. Obviously, the first winning goal at the Emirates from the visiting team. It's just slipped my mind, but I can picture his face. But that was obviously, an important goal maybe from a historic point of view, being the first away win at the Emirates. But yeah, I mean, it's been a good fixture for us over the years, and hopefully it will be another good one. Just before we move away from that game, Adako in the chat there says, should ESR play tomorrow? And who should drop out? Well, that's a good question because I mean he looks like he's fit again. He was on the bench, wasn't he? Who would we take out of the team for ESR? That's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I don't know.
Difficult one, isn't it? You can't drop Odegaard.
You can't drop Martinelli.
You can't drop Martinelli.
I think you keep it as it is for now, and keep him on the bench for now because it'll be unfair.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. You are probably right. But obviously, ESR has been had a great season, one of our best players. So it's difficult to leave him out, isn't it? But it's difficult to fit him in at the minute with that team that played at the weekend. I mean,
there's no reason you can't give him half an hour at the end of the game just to get him even back into it. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't bring him back again.
No, I probably wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change much either. Certainly not in the forward areas because I thought they all played pretty well the other day. So we want to keep them there. Obviously, after tomorrow night, we've got a game at the weekend as well. Tricky game, I believe it's going to be a difficult game to predict as well. Very unpredictable team that we play in. Obviously, Leeds away. They picked up form pretty recently, and another team we've got a decent record against in recent years. Actually,
they're 5-0 down tonight.
Are they?
Call that.
Who are they playing?
Man City.
Wow.
Still 25 minutes left. And they've had 2 goals disallowed City.
They could still draw then, Dorsey, couldn't they? 25
should be 7.
Well, I mean, hopefully they'll carry that form on at the weekend. Then that'd be nice. But we've got a decent record against it. Of course, last season's game was quite interesting, wasn't it? When Pepe got sent off, that 0-0 draw, a strange game in many ways. And then of course, Aubameyang got a hat trick against them at the Emirates, didn't he? In the return game. So obviously we won't be with him probably at the weekend either. So I mean, I think this is a difficult game to predict because Leeds are quite unpredictable. The fact they're losing 5-0 tonight kind of just shows that, really, because you never know what you're going to get with Leeds. Yeah, you don't know whether, they can win games 5-0, they can lose games 5-0, they can, they can draw games 3-0. You just don't know what you're going to get with them, do you? I mean, what are you expecting for this one, Bill? I know perhaps our result tomorrow might have a big impact on how we approach that game as well, won't it? Probably.
What you're doing? We're doing predictions now, aren't we? Right.
Well, we can do if you want. We can do predictions if you want. I'll skip my sheet.
No, the Leeds. I can't remember what I had for Arsenal Leeds the weekend. I'm going for a 1-0 win. I might change it to 2-0. I'll let you know later when we do our predictions.
Oh, we'll wait till later for that one. But yeah, I mean, what are you expecting out of the game? Because I know, obviously, I say Leeds are very unpredictable, aren't they, as a team anyway?
Well, just the Leeds fans, I mean, they really get behind their team. They really do.
Yeah.
And it seems like Leeds, when they've had a bad run, they're like Everton did, they raise their game. However badly they're playing, it's like their little derby. It's a derby within a derby for these teams. And so it's really how we handle it. Hopefully, we might have learned something from the Everton game and the Man United game, but we'll see. Hopefully, we can beat West Ham, and even if we haven't learned too much, momentum will get us through. But this is the type of game, again, we'll be tested. It's not going to be easy because it never is when we play these teams. Because even if, for some reason, people want to raise their game against the Arsenal, there's something about it. They don't want to raise it against any other team, it seems to me. It might be Man United if they're top, or Liverpool, or the Chelseas, but and we're not near the top, let's face it. Wherever we are, other teams will want to raise their game against us, and we're just in that position. And we've had to learn to live with it. And we've really I think we've got to win the battle before we beat Leeds on Saturday. We've got to win the battle, otherwise we'll have no chance.
No, you're right. And I think maybe teams raise their game against us because they know we can be a bit of a weak touch. Maybe that's why. And they know they've got an opportunity to beat us, perhaps. I don't know if that's the reason, but they do seem to play better against us than they do against some of the other teams. I mean, Leeds aren't going to roll over and lose 5-0 against us, are they? You can guarantee that much, especially after this game tonight. I mean, our away record actually this season has been really, really poor. And that worries me. We've lost our last 3 away from home. And we've only won twice away from home all season. Only scored 1 goal in the second half, so it's a worry, a big worry. I mean, Dorsey, are you expecting a response to the recent away games? Obviously, Leeds is a difficult place to go to, isn't it? The crowd, as Melvin said, they do get right behind them. It's a good atmosphere usually. It's a difficult place to go, and although they're struggling a bit, their home form generally is pretty solid, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, City have been unbelievable tonight. It's not so much Leeds have been awful. I've just kind of been keeping an eye on it, but it's not often you see Leeds lose. They don't get beat heavily twice in a row, generally, do they?
So, what's it on Sky, Dorsey? Didn't Sky?
BT.
Oh, BT, right.
I don't. Yeah, I really don't know what to expect. I agree with what you said earlier, Rich. Actually, that I think the result against West Ham will probably dictate quite a lot. Maybe how we do against Leeds, but yeah, the away form's not been great. The only saving grace really is that unless it's one of the top teams, we don't generally concede too many goals. No. So I don't see us, even if we do get beat, I don't see us getting beat heavily. Yeah, it's a tough one to call. I really don't know. And I think if we get a decent result against West Ham tomorrow, I think that will go a long way to maybe we can bounce into that Leeds game. But after my predictions for the Everton and Man United game, I'm not going to get too carried away from home. It's
no, exactly.
I really don't know what to do.
I mean, they did let us down those last 2 away games. Quite obviously the performances, and we owe, or the players maybe owe the away fans that travel to these games. They owe them a performance because we've not had enough away from home this season at all. We've been really, really poor. Whereas last season away from home, we were quite good. I know again that the fan situation probably played a part in that. The Daco in the chat says their Leeds played better against Chelsea. No, they did. They gave Chelsea a really good game. I was unlucky to lose that actually, wasn't they?
Yeah, they were.
And he says, I hope Bamford's not playing. Yeah, I mean Bamford's a threat. I don't know how fit he is. He did come on and score, didn't he, the other week? But I'm not sure how 100% fit he is, but we'll see. He's a good player, obviously. Hope he's not playing. That would help us a little bit, I suppose. I mean, Adam, it's going to be a difficult game, isn't it? But our record away at Leeds is pretty good as well. You know, obviously our record at home to West Ham's good, and away at Leeds is good. So ideally, historically, these 2 games should be good games for us to play at this point in the season.
Yeah. Again, I'm kind of erring on the side of caution a little bit after our last away debacles. I mean, Leeds are a real weird one this year. I mean, I've got a friend who's a Leeds fan, and he can't work it out, like why it's so different. I mean, he is saying that they've had no goal threat. Without Bamford, they've only got Rafinha really. You can really put the ball in the net. He said there's not really been much change in the team. They brought like Daniel James in, who's really not set the world alight for them. But other than that, there's not really any change. And they've just when Bamford's they've got no focal point up front. And even though he's coming back now, it's going to be a few weeks until he's really firing at all cylinders again. So I think it could potentially still be a decent time to play them, if there ever is. But like Dorsey said, they do raise their game. They do raise their game against us. I mean, it was a fiery encounter last year when it was 0-0. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was fiery. And I expect the same. I'd be more confident if we were playing at home than away, because I think you can get at teams then. I think, again, a lot will depend on how tomorrow night goes. Depends on what we need from the game. Do you know what I mean? If we go into that game desperately needing a win, I wouldn't be as confident. But if we go into it having a really good performance against West Ham, I think we'll do the business. So we should be doing them because let's be honest, Leeds are a lower league side at the moment, so we should be kind of beating them. But I'm never confident away from home at the moment, never. So tough one.
I mean, they're in that kind of area of the league where we've done well against the teams that are in their sort of position in the league, haven't we? They're the games that we've won so far this season, really. We're not really beating anybody else. Obviously, tomorrow night, that hopefully can change against West Ham. So, but away from home, Leeds is always a tricky game. We've got a good record there, but it's never easy, and it's certainly not going to be easy. The fact that they're getting hammered tonight, they're going to have a response to that. As Dorsey said, they don't often. Is it 6 now? Wow, they've just got another one. So they're not gonna play like that again, I'm sure. So we're probably gonna maybe get the bounce back from that perhaps as well, which is going to be difficult. I mean, I suppose we need to do some little archive bits on Leeds as well. Not as many maybe games over the years because they spent a long time obviously out of the Premier League. We didn't play them as much as obviously West Ham are generally in the Premier League a lot more. I mean, Melvin, I know your memories of Leeds go back to when Arsenal and Leeds was a big rivalry, wasn't it? One of the biggest rivalries.
Very much so. Oh, very much. I mean, the first time. I mean, I saw Leeds in 1967, but the first game that when I really remember seeing Leeds was the League Cup final. They beat us 1-0. That's when the Jackie Charlton fouled the keeper. That was the first time keepers used to get done on the post. They never used to do it on the goal line. They never used to do that before Leeds did it. Went out to Coop, we smashed it in, and they really wasted time. I think they wasted about 90% of the rest of the game. It was horrible, horrible. It was really. I came out. I was a kid anyway, and I was nearly in tears. I might have been in tears actually. And then a year later we played them, and they had a ruthless streak. Leeds. They weren't a nice team, like Clough used to say. And we got beat 2-1 at home. We had a forward called Bobby Gould, and his little party trick, we used to like barging the goalkeeper. It wasn't legal, but you could just about get away with it. He'd done it subtly. Well, he did it to Sprague, and it was at the end that I was sitting. And Sprague got up and smashed him in the face and knocked him out. And when the referee came over to see what's happened, Sprague went on the deck pretending to hold his knee. He's got a bad knee. So the linesman never saw it. I saw it. The linesman never saw it because he punched the ball. I think when I punched the ball, when I saw it, I saw Gould go into him, and all of a sudden that it went off. And the Gould got taken off. But I don't remember if he was taken off straight away. He was subbed or it was later on. So that was that game. One of the best games I ever saw at Highbury was the year we done the double. In September, we drew 0-0 with them. When Leeds, we knew that Leeds were going to be there or thereabouts. They're a fabulous team. And we drew 0-0 at home. Doesn't sound a great result, but we held the supposed champions to be elect. We had 10 men. Eddie Kelly got sent off. Bremner, they were chasing, both of them got running away from me, chasing a ball. And all of a sudden, Bremner collapsed like and smashed in the face with Kelly's elbow. Probably didn't, but he got sent off. And that was Leeds for you at that time. That was a fantastic game. We really played well. And it was and for that season, we were neck and neck all season with Leeds. And then we did the double. That was brilliant. From 1972 to 1976, I looked this up. In the league, all the league games, all the games we played, we only won 1 out of 11. The other 10 we got beat against Leeds. Really? That's how good they were and how bad we were against them. Also, a game I remember going to, Arsenal, first game of the season, played home to Leeds. Liam Brady scored 2. One was a fantastic goal. It was showed on match of the day every week as one of the opening goals. And Tony Curry played for Leeds. He was fabulous. Leeds got a brilliant goal as well. The sun was shining, the grass was green, which it never used to be years ago after the first few weeks. Yeah. But I remember the opening match of the season was always fantastic. And, it looked fantastic. And it was a great game, 2-2. And that was superb to see Brady score a fabulous goal. Well, the other one was a penalty. And I love watching Tony Curry play. He was a very underrated player. Also, we beat them 7-0, believe it or not, in the 1970s. It was a midweek game, the League Cup. I think Sunderland got a hat-trick. Whatever we did, it went in. It was like one of those silly games. That was great. In 1991, we played them in the FA Cup. We had 4 games before we finally got beat 2.
7?
4 games against Leeds?
No, Leeds are losing 7-0.
9.
Oh, 7, is it?
Bloody hell. That's ridiculous.
Oh, it's baggy trousers, isn't it? It's madness. Right.
Still 15 minutes to go.
Are they going to get 10 for the first time in the Premier League? Are they going to be the first team to score 10 in a Premier League game? That'd be good.
Right. As I say, 1991, the FA Cup, we had 4 games against them, and then we finally won away 2-1. And then the year later, a great league performance when we beat them 3-0 at Ellen Road, which was fantastic. That was really, really good. That was an unbelievable game. No, we lost, sorry. 1992, we got beat by Leeds 3-0.
No, we got beat 3-0, yeah.
I went to that game. There was 3 ex-Arsenal players playing for Leeds. Who are they, Richard?
Lee Chapman, John Lukic, and David Rocastle.
No.
We got soaked that day, didn't we? Do you remember? Was you in the away end along the side and
no,
we were doing building work? And
I got some friends. They got me tickets. So I was get to see. So we
lost 3-0. That was Rocastle. He did play for Leeds then, didn't he? That was his season.
Rocastle played that day. Who else?
Did Lee Chapman play?
No.
He didn't. John Lukic would have been in goal there, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Lukic and Rocastle got one more.
Chris White?
Chris White.
Didn't Lee Chapman play? He always seemed to score against us, didn't he?
I don't think he did that day. No, the thing is, in that game, we got rid of Rocastle, went to Leeds, right? Yeah. But we had our little bit of we did all right because we got someone to replace him who played that game, who was absolutely clueless in Seattle that day. John Jensen. He could not pick his foot.
He didn't like the rain, did he? He didn't like the rain.
No, he didn't like the rain. Then, do you remember the 1993 when we played them in the FA Cup again, Richard? When Wright got the goal. I think he got 2. Remember that game?
That was a brilliant game, yeah. After extra time.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
That was that night, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Night celebration.
Put that a little bit. There we go. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was a great game. That
great performance. I think we were getting beat 1-0, weren't we, at one stage? Didn't they go 1-0 up?
No, we were losing 2-1. We were losing 2-1, and we got it back to 2-2 near the end, and then we won in extra time. Right, you got the last 2 goals. Lukic had a bit of a nightmare actually, which was a shame.
Yeah, the one I was thinking about, the 3-0 was 95 with Merson, Bergkamp, and Wright scored.
Wright scored that chip, didn't he? When he chipped it over Lukic. Lukic sort of looked at it and went, "Oh, all right, He felt fair enough, mate."
And the last one I remember I went to was Ellen Road. It was a midweek. I went with my mate. I phoned him up at work and said, "Look, I've got a couple of tickets for the game tonight," and I brought my car up. He goes, "No, I don't want to go." "No, come on, you got to go." "No, I don't want to go." "We go." Anyway, I met him after work. We drove up. Well, not after work. We left a bit early, obviously. We drove up. It was coming down with rain. My windscreen wiper wasn't working properly. We got up there. We were soaked. We sat down, watched the game. Ian Wright was so unlucky. Lukic made every save going. He was brilliant, Lukic, that night. Whatever right he did, he couldn't score against him. In the last minute, a geezer called Noel Whelan, remember him?
Yeah, Noel Whelan, yeah.
Coventry as well. He hit a shot from about 25 yards right along the deck. Seaman went down to get it. It must have hit a stone on the pitch, went over his shoulder. We got beat 1-0. We had that drive back. Yeah. I think it felt like it took us 8 hours. It didn't, but that's what it felt like. And my friend said, "I should have said no and meant it."
Yeah, no, I remember that one. We've had a few shockers at least, to be fair.
Yeah.
Overall, we got a decent enough record, I suppose. But yeah, I can remember a few of them defeats in particular. That 3-0 was just dreadful. We were top of the league actually that day, going to that Leeds game when we lost 3-0 in the rain. We were top of the league.
They murdered us. They
did murder us, yeah. And then we never recovered from that season. We finished 10th. We did win both cups, though, so I suppose that was a bit of compensation for that. I mean, Dorsey, what are your memories of Leeds? Obviously, maybe a little, not so many probably, because they wasn't in the Premier League for a long time, were they? That was the issue.
No, not so many. But yeah, so the first one that came to my mind was not a good memory by any means, but it was 2003 when we lost 3-2 at Highbury. It cost us the title. And I remember I'd been at an exhibition or something in London. Back then, the phones didn't give you what they give you now, so I didn't really had no idea what the score is. Walked past the pub, walked in, ordered a beer, saw Mark Viduka score, walked out. I must have been in the pub less than a minute. It was ridiculous. And I walked straight out. That was the first memory. It was a horrible one.
What was significant about that game, Dorsey? What was significant about that game?
Well, it lost us the title for a start.
Well, no, we lost the title. But what is in Arsenal's history? What's significant about that game? There's one particular thing that's really significant.
Don't know, not that I can remember.
No?
Here's a clue.
Well, it's difficult to give you a clue really without giving it away.
Right.
Tell us then.
Yeah. I don't know.
Melvin wants to guess. Go on, Melvin. Have you got any idea?
No.
It was our last defeat before the 49 games.
Oh, right. We should have known that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think I remember that now. Yeah.
So that was like the last game we lost until we didn't lose the next 49 after that in the league.
Yeah.
So that was the last one. So that was why it was significant. In fact, James kind of mentioned it a little bit in the chat there. He says, I remember the game Viduka scored in, cost us the league. That's what I was just talking about. My dad was so mad. I think it was a year before the Invincibles. Well, it was the year before. It was the last defeat before. Didn't put the radio on in the car after the game. We just sat in silence. I can remember doing that a few times, sitting in silence on the way home, not wanting to listen to the match reports coming in. I've done that a lot of times, actually. So I remember that was a shocker, that actually, wasn't it? Because
who was that winger who went from Leeds to Liverpool?
Harry Kewell.
He was outstanding that day.
Yeah,
he was. That was unbelievable.
The next memory was a bit better. Was during the Invincible season when we beat them 5-0 at home, and Henry got
my God! Yeah.
I mean that. If you were to handpick a single performance of Henry, I mean that would be right up there. I always remember the one he was falling over and he still managed to score. It's just
the right back fouling.
Everything he did that night, it was a player that was just on top of the world, wasn't he? He was just on everything he did was just phenomenal. So
he was that was when he was at his absolute maximum, wasn't he? That season he was
never won the Ballon d'Or. What a disgrace! Never won the Ballon d'Or.
The fact that Nedved won it that year was just was an absolute. And ever since then, I've not taken the Ballon d'Or seriously because that's just ridiculous. For me, he was the best player in the world at the time.
Yeah, he was at the time.
In that season, he was well clear. And the next one, which brings it forward a few more years, was Henry again, but it was the cup game. Henry when he made his return in 2011 when he came on and we won 1-0, and that just the emotion, seeing that celebration and it was phenomenal. It's just another goal that I could just watch over and over again, and you could just see how much it meant to him. So those were the three that I kind of picked up straight away, but.
They were great. That great memories there actually. Russ is in the chat there. He says, "You lot should go on Mastermind." Well, maybe we should if it was about Arsenal. And he says, "Dorsey's top is amazing." Yeah, we've mentioned Dorsey's top at the beginning of the show. Yeah, it is amazing. It's a thing of absolute beauty. So brilliant. Fantastic for Arsenal re-releasing it, and brilliant for Dorsey for buying it and wearing it on the show. James says Harry Kewell was always linked with him. Yeah, we were always linked with him, weren't we? For whatever reason. And James also rolled there. He says, Melvin, thanks again for your hospitality on Saturday at the game. He looked after you then, did he, James? He kept you out of trouble.
He kept me out of trouble.
Yeah. And Russ there again mentioned Henry's return as well. Yeah, amazing goal, amazing scene. Yeah, that'll always be one of the great memories, won't it, of ours. Of course, it was this top actually that season, wasn't it, as well? This was when he scored his last goal at Sunderland. Actually, that was what this top reminds me of.
Andre Arshavin with a cross.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a great moment. I was at that game. That was a fantastic moment. That when he scored that goal, his last goal for Arsenal. So great to have been there for that. Adam, of course, you must have some good memories maybe mixed memories of Leeds. We've had a few mixed results against them, I guess, over the years, haven't we?
Yeah, but I think generally it's been positive memories. I mean, two of the games that I picked out have already been mentioned, but the Henry one was one that I mentioned. I remember being at the game when he returned, and like Rush just said in the chat, just the scenes when it scored, it was just like it was incredible. It was literally like Return of the King. It was just amazing. His celebration, and I will always remember that night at the Emirates. It's one of my favourite nights at the Emirates. That one for being at, and it was just incredible. Yeah, very emotional. I remember the 1991 replays in the cup. I think it was like 4 ties in the end. And I remember about it is I was quite young. I went to the 0-0. I think it was the first replay at Highbury, and I remember it to this day being the coldest I've ever been at a football match.
Yeah, it was cold.
I remember it being
cold. I remember
absolutely bitter.
Was that the one when Lee Dixon put that penalty into the North Bank?
Yeah, that's right. I think he was so frozen. Everyone was so cold. And I just remember like looking at my dad and thinking, this is not fun. Like literally, the game was pretty shocking. It was midweek. I probably had school the next day. I'd probably been to school. I was knackered. I was like, this is not great. But that sticks in my mind. And me and my dad still talk about that. To remember that game against Leeds, how cold it was. It's like, I remember that one. And then the other one was, I think, 2003 or might have been 2002 it was when we played away at Ellen Road. And at the time, Leeds had a really good team. They had like again Kjell, Viduka, Alan Smith, and they were really well fancied. And we going into the game, I was working abroad at the time, and I was going down the pub to watch it with a Leeds fan, and he was really fancying them. And at the time, all the press were thinking, "Oh yeah, Leeds going to probably do them at home." And we ended up winning 4-1, and I think Carnu scored 2, and I loved Carnu. And I remember that game, we just annihilated them. Completely. I think Carnu, Torre scored that day as well. And he didn't score many, and and I just remember it was one of these things where we just turned up and we just plowed through them, and it could have been again like I love those old Arsenal games where you just like bang, bang, bang.
Did they go 1-0 up?
I think they did go 1-0 up.
Yeah, I think they did in that one. Yeah, I think
they had their towels up, I think, and then we just like cruised past them. I
think we missed a penalty as well. I think they were 1-0 up. I think we might have missed a penalty, and then
we played in our blue kit. I remember we had an all blue kit that season, 02 kit, and I just remember like sitting there like no stress at all, thinking this is just brilliant. Like I loved it. So those are my memories of Leeds, and fairly good. We seem to have got them in so many cups over the years as well. FA Cup especially, like seem to always have got them ever since we had those kind of 4 ties in the FA Cup. We always seem to get them, and don't know what it is, but the game generally we've had the better of them, so I'm all right with Leeds as well.
Yeah, we've actually played against Leeds in the FA Cup 15 times since 1982, which is a lot.
That is a lot, yeah.
A lot of draws, obviously, as well. Not just 15, not 15 separate times. Draws when we played.
Reece Nelson scored, didn't he?
Yeah, that was the season before they came up. Of course, we did beat them in the Carabao Cup this year as well. But in the FA Cup, 15...
I remember that cup tie. Thinking when they were in the Championship, thinking actually they're a really good side. They played really well against us, and we were quite lucky to get the win.
First half they were open, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, they were in the first half. Yeah, we were lucky to win that game. But I mean, we've had some decent results against. I mean, we used to score quite a lot of goals at Ellen Road. That 4-1 you mentioned, we won at Ellen Road 4-1 3 seasons in a row, or 3 times in a row. And that was one of those 4-1s that you mentioned there. We won 4-1 in the Invincible season as well, and we won in the FA Cup in the Invincible season 4-1 at Ellen Road. So Torre scored in both them games. Actually, he scored twice at Ellen Road. He didn't score many goals, but he scored away at Leeds twice in a year. So that was pretty good.
Was that the one when Henry scored that side foot volley? And then he walked off like that with that little celebration.
That was the FA Cup game. That was.
That was FA Cup, was it? I remember that goal was just ridiculous finish again.
Yeah, that was just unreal over there. I mean, that one that Adam mentioned was when Henry got that goal, and I think the ball was played through to him, and he ran from the halfway line, ran through. No one could catch him, and he just slotted it in. It was just unreal all over, wasn't it? That was that Arsenal all over back then. And
Gilberto Silva gave it to him, didn't he? Just a little ball.
Yeah, I think it was Gilberto. Yeah.
A little touch, and off you go.
Yeah, that was such a great team to watch. And we did used to go to Ellen Road and score a lot of goals. Of course, there was one disappointing game, wasn't there? In '99 when we were top of the league, 1 game to play afterwards, and we lost 1-0. A late goal from Hasselbank, a mistake by Nelson Vivas, and Nigel Winterburn had to go off. Vivas came on, played left back, completely made a mistake, and they won 1-0, and that cost us the league. Man United won the treble, of course, that year, and we should have won the league.
Richard?
Yeah,
I went. I went.
Yeah, I went to that.
We had a
actually
geezer, French centre
was-
forward, who couldn't score a goal. He kept hitting the bar that night as well.
Yeah, his name was Diawara.
That's it.
Oh,
He must have been 3 yards out. We're about quarter an hour to go, 0-0.
Yeah.
And he hit the bar. I thought, how can he hit the bar from there?
He hit the bar about 3 times in that game, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, it was unbelievable. And
He was one of the best I've ever seen. Diawara.
Hasselbank nearly threw the net, didn't he? I finish.
Yeah, that was.
I think he did that for Middlesbrough against us as well when he went there.
Yeah,
scored a couple of that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I mean that was a ridiculous game. That I was sitting actually. Well, in front of me was David Seaman's mum actually that night in the Arsenal end. That was quite a good experience. He saved a penalty as well, but unfortunately we did lose in the end, and that cost us the league. That was pretty frustrating. But I mean, I didn't really. The first time I saw Leeds play actually was at Highbury, 1982 and 1983, in the FA Cup because they were in the second division at the time. And I remember Leeds had brought probably 10,000 fans to Highbury on the clock end. And I was on the North Bank, and they scored. They went 1-0 up Leeds, and I've never. The first time I've seen away fans, that many away fans at Highbury, just like going mental on the clock, and they were flying all over the place. All these Leeds fans when they scored, and then literally like 10 seconds later, straight from kickoff, we equalised, and it was just fantastic because you're singing, you're not singing anymore, and all that. That was great stuff. That was the first time I'd ever seen Leeds. Obviously, I knew the history of Arsenal and Leeds, dirty Leeds and all that, as Melvin had mentioned before. And, we didn't really play them that much because they wasn't very good then. And then, of course, they got back into the first division when they won the league. And Lee Chapman, who'd been absolutely dreadful for Arsenal, used to score against us every single time we played them. That's one of my biggest memories of playing against Leeds was the fact that he always scored. And I always remember thinking to myself, how on earth have you become a striker that can score goals when you were so terrible when you played for us? I just couldn't believe it was the same player. It was ridiculous.
But you know what, Richard? I think also we played Sheffield Wednesday away from home, and he got the winner against us then.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he just liked scoring against us, didn't he?
He scored.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he couldn't score a goal for us. Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. He scored more goals against us than he did for us. Definitely.
Yeah,
he used to always score against us. Ridiculous. But that's always my memory of Leeds, especially Leeds away. He always seemed to score at Ellen Road against us, always. And that's always my memory. Just Lee Chapman scoring. It's like every time you play, well, Lee Chapman's going to score, so we're going to have to get at least 2. Because he's bound to score at least 1, and every single time he did. I remember that goal Limpar scored. Do you remember that one, Melvin, at Ellen Road? Limpar, when he ran from about the halfway line, just cut inside and smashed it in. That was a brilliant goal. Yeah, little jig. Yeah. That was a brilliant goal there. I'll never forget that one. That was a good night. We had a few good nights at Ellen Road back in the sort of 90s and that, but a few dodgy ones as well, as we said, getting beat 3-0. Russ says there, Kabadiawara, what a forgettable player. Well, we didn't forget him. We remembered him. So there you go. He wasn't that forgettable, was he? He's hit the post 10 times in one game. So you don't get many...
from close range.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get many players do that, do you? So I'd certainly never forget him. I can still picture his face now. It gives me nightmares quite a lot. But yeah, especially that game at Leeds was ridiculous. But yeah, so hopefully we can get some sort of revenge on Leeds for that defeat because I still haven't forgiven them. And David O'Leary was their manager on that night. And at the end of the game, he was celebrating. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, mate. You've just cost us the league, giving it to Man United, and you're celebrating on the pitch. I didn't like him for that, David O'Leary, but I might forgive him eventually.
You've got to forgive him, but he did actually mention something. There was a quote from him before the game because they're talking about his Arsenal ties, and I was quite shocked because he's a really nice guy, and he said, "I've got no allegiances or friends."
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
I thought that's a bit of a strange thing to say.
Yeah, I know. He's Arsenal's record appearance holder. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
700 games.
Yeah.
No,
so I thought
no allegiance to Arsenal.
Don't know what that was for, but listen, it is what it is.
He was doing his job at the end of the day. He was manager of Leeds. He was pleased they won the game.
Getting paid for Leeds, let him do it. Yeah, but I
thought that was a little bit. I didn't feel comfortable watching him celebrating on a pitch where he just cost us the league. I'll never forgive him for that, really. But anyway. I suppose it's one of those things. Dako in the chat says, oh my God, you can still remember every move and incident after 20 years. I can't even remember that detail. It happened 5 years ago. Well, he's just, just sticks.
Don't ask me what I did yesterday, will you?
No, exactly, yeah. To be honest with you, I find it more struggle to remember games from the last 2 or 3 years than I do from games that were 25, 30 years ago. Yeah. I just really struggle to remember them. You say, well, what was the game? What was the game against Leeds like last year? I'm like, well, I can't remember. But what was the game like against Leeds in 1992? Oh, yeah, I know exactly what happened. I can name that whole game, everything. I can name the starting lineup and everything. But the games that happened last season, I completely forget. But anyway, that's just the way it is. But no, that was good, actually. There's some good memories against Leeds. And there's some big games over the years. Not so much recently, I suppose, but it's going to be a big game Saturday and we'll see. Before we finish, of course, we always have to do the usual update of our little our predictor league, which is going really well for certain people on the panel. So last week, then we had Melvin actually didn't have a very good week last week. He only got 6 points, which is a bit disappointing for Melvin because he is top of the league still. I got 7. Actually, James, who was in, got 7 as well. But Adam won last week. He got 8, so he's closed the gap a little bit at the top.
Well
I'm on 83, so I'm still third. Adam's now on 89, and Melvin is still slightly ahead on 92, but it's getting quite close. So that's pretty good. Obviously, we're going to start in the midweek games, but it's a bit pointless doing Man City and Leeds now because we're all going to predict 7-0 to Man City, aren't we?
I had 6-0. I had 6-0.
You had 6-0, did you? Oh, unlucky, Melvin. You only get 1 point for that.
So we start tomorrow night.
We all had 7-0, so we get 2 points for that one. We won't bother doing tonight's games, and just because the results are already in, so it's a bit pointless, really. But I don't think any of us would have got 2 points for Man City Leeds, would we? Let's be honest. No. I don't think any of us would have said 7-0. So we'll start with tomorrow's game. So Brighton against Wolves is the first one. Melvin, Brighton at home to Wolves.
2-0 Brighton.
Oh, 2-0 Brighton. Okay, Wolves can't score goals actually at the minute, so you might be right with that one. Adam, what are you thinking? Just you're next on my list. That's all.
1-0.
1-0. Okay. Yeah, they are the draw specialists. Dorsey, what are you thinking? Brighton Wolves.
1-0 Brighton.
1-0 to Brighton. Okay. I'm going to go bold on the first one. I'm going 0-0. Two teams that do draw a lot, can't score many goals, so I'm going 0-0 with that one.
Steady on.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get too excited too early. Second game, Burnley at home to Watford. Again, a game that doesn't really fill you with a lot of excitement, but this one could be 0-0 as well. But anyway, what do we think, Melvin?
I'm going to go a bit off here. 2-1 to Burnley.
2-1 to Burnley. Okay, that could be interesting. Adam, what are you thinking?
A thrilling 1-0 win to Burnley.
Thrilling 1-0 to Burnley. Okay. Dorsey?
1-0.
1-0. Okay. I'm actually going to go 0-0 again. I just can see this game with 0-0 written all over it. So that's 2 0-0s in a row. So we might get some goals in a minute. Another game that could be tight, actually. Crystal Palace at home to Southampton. Crystal Palace, of course, all our favourite second team in the Premier League with Patrick Vieira. What are you thinking, Melvin? Obviously, we hammered Southampton.
I'm going to go Vieira 2, Southampton 0.
Oh, good one. Southampton losing 2-0 again. Adam, what are you thinking? Vieira against Southampton?
Surprisingly, for the first time this week, I'm agreeing with Melvin. 2-0 Palace.
Oh,
probably not the last.
No, probably not. Dorsey, what are you thinking? Palace, Southampton?
I've actually gone 2-0 Palace as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. 2-0 to Palace.
Oh, Rich, you could have.
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't actually predicted any of these yet. I'm just doing them to go along. I mean, 2-0 Palace actually sounds quite... I'll go 2-0 Palace just for a laugh. So That'll
be 3-1 Southampton then.
It will end up being Southampton or we'll get nothing for that. Well, our game's next, so we might as well do it. Arsenal at home to West Ham. Melvin, are you confident that we can win?
No, but I'm going for a win. 2-1.
2-1. Well, that's a good prediction. We'll have that all day long. Adam?
I'm going for a draw. I mean, I'm hoping I'm wrong and I hope we get the win, but I'm going 2-2.
2-2. Oh, good game, though. That'll be a good game. Dorsey, what are you thinking?
2-0.
2-0 to Arsenal?
Yeah.
Oh, good one.
Gone with my head, not my heart.
I mean, I think that's the thing with the predictions with Arsenal. I think we've all got to go with our heart, really, because if we're with our head, we'd never predict a win. I mean, I think we will win, actually, genuinely, in my head and in my heart. I do think we'll win. I think it's going to be 2-1, and I do think we'll just sneak it, and I think it'll be a good game. Another game that could be interesting, Leicester at home to Tottenham. If Tottenham play, of course, is that game on, is it? Are they allowing Tottenham to play now, or are they still not allowing them to?
Tottenham will decide if they play, if they're winning at half-time, I'm told.
Well, yeah, probably. So what do you think then, Melvin? Leicester against Tottenham?
I'm going 2-2.
2-2. Oh, okay. Interesting game. Adam?
I've gone 2-1 Leicester.
Good shout. I'm liking that very much. Ozzy?
I concur. 2-1 Leicester.
2-1 Leicester, indeed. I've gone 2-0 Leicester because it's just Tottenham, so I don't really care as long as Tottenham lose.
Sacrifice the points just to say Tottenham.
I will. I'll sacrifice the points just to predict Tottenham losing every week because they're doing a bit better lately. But it's worth saying they'll lose. Right, Chelsea against Everton. I guess it could be an interesting game as well. Melvin, what are you thinking? Chelsea at home to Everton, who can only beat us.
because they ain't going to play like they played against us ever again. 3-0 Chelsea.
3-0. Wow. Okay, that's a big one.
They're not that good, Everton, are they? Can't be honest.
Well, they're not really that good, no. But then Chelsea haven't been that good lately either. Adam, what are you thinking?
3-1 Chelsea.
3-1.
Yeah, I think apart from against us, Everton look pretty poor.
No, they do look poor, and Richarlison's out as well, which is probably one of their biggest threats as well. So, what are you thinking, Dorsey? Chelsea, Everton?
I'm going big on this one, and I'm saying 4-0 Chelsea.
4-0. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Rafa will be gone.
They don't generally score many goals, actually, Chelsea, do they? But Everton have, Chelsea just because they're at home and they'll probably win. And then the last game of midweek is Newcastle away against Liverpool at Anfield. This could be anything. This game, looking at how Newcastle did against Leicester. What are you thinking, Melvin?
I must have been on the bottle making this prediction, but I've got to go with it. I'm not going to change it. 2-1 to Liverpool.
Oh, a tight one.
Honestly,
It wasn't quite as much of a shock as I was thinking. I was expecting you to say Newcastle were going to win. But anyway.
No, that is a shock. 2-1. I get good.
Well, yeah, I suppose. But it'd be more of a shock if you predicted Newcastle to win. Adam, what are you thinking?
3-0 Liverpool.
3-0 Liverpool. Okay. And Dorsey?
5.
5-0.
To who?
Newcastle.
Imagine. That would be a shock, wouldn't it? I've gone 3-1 to Liverpool. I think Newcastle will score, and I don't think they'll be as bad again as they were against Leicester. But obviously, Liverpool, aren't they? So you can imagine they'll win.
Salah hat trick. Salah will get a hat trick.
Yeah, he probably will. He generally does. Right, so we move on to the weekend then. The first game is Man United at home to Brighton. Melvin, what are you thinking? Man United at home to Brighton.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know there was more. Of course there are. Sorry, I've got it written down.
We've got a weekend as well, haven't we? There's 2 games this week.
Oh, this is a strange one as well. I've done. I must have been on something. I don't know. I must stop eating that stuff. 1-1. Man United, Brighton, 1-1. I put down here.
Oh, okay, no, that's not that bad. Adam, what are you thinking?
1-0 Man U.
1-0 Man U.
It seems to be pulling out a lot of those lately. So
yeah, they do. Probably a penalty. Dorsey, what are you thinking?
2-1 Man United.
2-1 Man United. I've gone 2-1 Man United as well. I just think that they should be too good at home to Brighton. Another claret and blue clash. We had one the other week. West Ham played Burnley. This is Aston Villa against Burnley at Villa Park. Steven Gerrard doing well, I suppose. Melvin?
2-0 Villa.
2-0 Villa. Yeah, Burnley don't score many goals, do they? Adam?
I've gone 2-0 Villa.
Oh. Dorsey?
I've actually gone 2-0 as well. They won tonight as well, 2-0.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I've gone 2-0 as well, actually. Again, so we've got our full house there. Villa against Burnley. No one predicts Burnley are going to do very well. This could be an interesting game, actually. Southampton at home to Brentford, because Southampton at home are pretty difficult to beat, and Brentford are a bit up and down. So, what do you think, Melvin? Southampton against Brentford?
1-0.
1-0. Okay, yeah, that seems fair. Adam?
I've gone for a Southampton win, 2-0.
2-0. Oh, okay. Dorsey?
I went 1-1 as well on that one.
1-0. Okay. I've got 1-0 to Southampton. I think they'll just shade it. And another kind of sort of London derby-ish. Watford at home to Crystal Palace. Melvin, this could be a tight game as well.
Watford 1, Vieira 2.
Oh, another win for Palace. Wow. They're going to be in Europe at this rate, Melvin.
Yeah.
What do you think, Adam? Watford against Palace?
I have gone for another Palace win, 2-1. Watford will score.
2-1. And Dorsey?
1-1.
1-0. Okay. I've gone 2-2 actually, because Palace draw a lot of games, and I just think they'll draw 2-2. Another game that maybe, well, I don't know, predictable really. West Ham at home to Newcastle. They've got 2 tough games, Newcastle, away at Liverpool and away at West Ham in 3 days. I feel a bit sorry for them, but anyway.
They're playing Norwich. West Ham, Norwich.
Yeah, and Norwich will
Norwich?
start. So.
Oh, it is Norwich, yeah, sorry, I got the wrong end. Newcastle. Oh, yeah, West Ham, Norwich. Sorry, that's my fault. I wrote the wrong game down. You are right, it is Norwich. So, Mel, what are you thinking? West Ham against Norwich?
Well, after being so upset, West Ham, about their performance tomorrow night, I think they'll only win 2-0.
Okay, they'll be nursing a bit of a hangover.
Yeah.
Adam, what are you thinking?
I've gone 3-1 West Ham.
3-1 West Ham. Okay, Dorsey?
3-0 West Ham.
3-0 West Ham. Okay. I've gone 3-0 West Ham as well. I mean, Norwich had picked up a little bit recently, but they're not very good, are they? Let's be honest. And then, of course, the next game, the later kick-off on Saturday is the biggest game of the week, of course, Leeds at home to Arsenal. Melvin, are we going to win at Ellen Road?
1-0 to the Arsenal.
Oh, I like the sound of that. That would be good. Adam?
I've gone 2-1 Arsenal.
Okay, fantastic. This is looking good. Dorsey? Don't let us down.
1-0 Arsenal.
1-0 Arsenal. Okay. We haven't lost at Ellen Road for 21 years, by the way, since 2000, the year 2000. So surely we're not gonna end that run this week.
Don't say it.
Of course we're not. We're going to win 3-1 because Leeds can't defend, can they? So we're going to go away and win 3-1. We're going to double our away goals for the season in one game. Then we move on to Sunday. Everton at home to Leicester. Everton, as we said, are not doing particularly well. Leicester have been a bit hit and miss. Melvin?
Everton 1, Leicester 2.
Oh, away win for Leicester. Okay. Adam?
I think in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first game as Everton boss, he'll get a 1-1 win. 1-1 draw even.
1-1 draw.
Yeah.
Okay. Dorsey?
1-0 Leicester.
No one's got any faith in Everton, have they? Nobody.
No.
There's a reason for that.
Is it because they're rubbish? I'm going to go 2-1 Everton. I think Everton will beat Leicester because I think Leicester aren't that good.
And you think Everton are?
Well, Everton aren't very good either, but neither of them are very good. But I think Everton will win just because I think they're at home and I just think they will. Another game that could be a good result for somebody. Wolves at home to Chelsea. We could do with Wolves winning maybe. But what do you think, Melvin?
I can't see it, Richard. 1-2 to Chelsea. 2-1 to Chelsea, rather.
Okay, yeah. Adam?
I love the analysis there. Could be a good result for somebody.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it'd be a good result for Wolves if they won. That was what I was meaning. But I didn't want to say for Wolves to win. I didn't want to be too.
I'm going to go 1-0 Chelsea.
1-0 Chelsea. Okay. And Dorsey?
It's going to be close because I've only conceded 3 goals in the last 6 games. But the problem is they haven't scored any.
No.
1-0 Chelsea.
1-0 to Chelsea. I've gone 2-0 to Chelsea just because these are the sort of games they just go and win, don't they? It's not exciting. They just go and get the job done. And now we've got the right one. It's Newcastle against Man City, but it's still a tough run for Newcastle because they've got Liverpool away and Man City at home in 3 days. So you've got to feel a bit sorry for them. But they are at home to Man City. They have beaten Man City at home in recent years a couple of times. So Melvin, what do you think? Can they do it again?
Newcastle 1, City 3.
Okay. City 3-1. Okay, Adam?
Snap. 3-1 City.
3-1 City. Okay, you're thinking Newcastle will score, which is interesting. Dorsey?
2-0 City.
2-0 City. Okay. I've gone 4-0 City because they won 7-0 tonight and Newcastle are dreadful. So I think City will be on a high. I think they'll beat them 4-0. And then finally, actually, this is quite an interesting game. Tottenham at home to Liverpool. Obviously, we want Liverpool to win for a change, but what do we think, Melvin?
3-1 to Liverpool.
Oh, that was bold. Adam?
2-0 Liverpool.
Okay. No one's got much faith in Tottenham, have they? Dorsey?
3-1 Liverpool.
3-1 Liverpool. Okay. Obviously, we want Liverpool to win, so I'll go 2-1 Liverpool because we want Liverpool to win, obviously. And it'll be a shame for Tottenham if they lost again. So that's our predictions then. We'll see how we get on there. And Melvin is still 3 points clear at the top of the table after, 16 games. So that's not bad, is it? 92 points. So we'll see another 2 weeks of worth of games. We can add a few more points on. Maybe Melvin might get to 100 by Christmas. That'll be good. First one to 100 points. But it's only halfway through the season yet, Melvin, so don't get too excited. We've got plenty of time to catch you up yet, so don't worry about that. So anyway, that was everything then tonight. A lot to get through. Obviously, we spent a lot of time on the Aubameyang situation because it is big news today, this week. And yeah, Russ in the chat there says, you always remember matches you were at more than on the TV. Yeah, you do, because there's experiences around it, isn't there, as well, as opposed to just the actual 90 minutes. It's easy to forget a lot of them. Russ says, yeah, thanks, lads. Been a pleasure as always. No, cheers for tuning in, mate. Great to see you in the chat again. And Adako says there, like to know your opinions. Origi is a bit lazy, but he's a deadly finisher in the box. He's just got 6 months left and not signed extension yet. don't think he wants to end his career on the bench. Well, I mean, Origi's an interesting one. He can score goals, but he never plays enough for me to know how good he is and whether he would suit what we need. I'm not sure. What do you think, Melvin? Origi, that's an interesting.
It is a very interesting one, but one I forgot to talk about before, who's up, is to think the contract is up again, is Martial.
Yeah, Martial, yeah.
No, thanks.
No, Doisy?
No, but not for me.
I don't think he's an out-and-out striker. I think he's more of that kind of wide player. He hasn't really proven much at United either.
I think he's awful. I don't rate him at all.
Well, what about Origi then? What are we thinking with Origi?
I'd rather have Origi over Martial.
Yeah, well, I probably would have
Martial. Probably not. I wouldn't want Origi as a long-term option. I would take him as an option for 6 months or a year or something, but yeah, I wouldn't want him as a long-term option.
He wouldn't count for 6 months or a year. He wants to make a career out of his football.
I mean,
does he? I mean, he's been sat at Liverpool. He's had plenty of opportunities to leave Liverpool.
Well, yeah, he seems to be happy sitting on the bench. Obviously, Adeko says Origi's scoring rate per game is good. Per minute, a goal per minute will probably be good because he's only on the pitch for 10 minutes and he gets a goal, doesn't he? So
exactly,
his goals per minute will probably be brilliant, but then he's not playing enough, is he? So, I mean, he would be an option maybe. I wouldn't be 100% against it. Is he our long-term option as our centre-forward going forward regular? Probably not. But I think it'd improve our squad. And if we get rid of Lacazette and Aubameyang, we need to get a couple of strikers in. And if we was to get him and Ivan Toney in, you'd have to say that wouldn't be two bad strikers to get in. And Russ says there's a rumour floating around that we could swap over for a Dembele at Barca. Yeah, well, Barca ain't got any money, so they won't be able to buy him. So they maybe look for some swaps. That could be a potential, maybe. I mean, Dembele's pretty good, isn't he?
Oh, I'd snap their hands off.
He can't stay fit though, can he?
Well, no, that is an issue. But then he'd be well suited at Arsenal, wouldn't he? He can join Kieran Tierney and Thomas Partey in the treatment room for half a season, can't he? I suppose.
I'd rather swap him from Memphis Depay. I'd rather have Depay than Dembele.
Yeah, maybe. Adeko says he's good with his head and feet. Only 26. Obviously, going back to Origi, he's obviously a big fan of Origi. So but yeah, I wouldn't be against him coming, but I'm not sure whether that will be the answer to what we need as our main centre forward. Someone who's on the bench at Liverpool. I don't know. He did score in the Champions League final against Tottenham though, so I suppose that's one good thing in his favour, I suppose, isn't it? Really? So that was all right. So yeah, I mean, we'll say we obviously a little bit longer show perhaps than normal due to the fact that there was a lot to talk about with bits of news that's gone on this week. But overall, it's a positive week. I think a good result for at the weekend, and I think that the right decision on the captaincy situation. Let's just see where that develops. Who's going to take over? I mean, Melvin, have you enjoyed the show again?
Yeah, very much so. Really enjoyed it. Always do. Thanks, Richard, and nice to see you again, boys. Really good.
Always.
It's always good. Where can people find you, Melvin, just in case they want to interact with you, as I'm sure they will?
Well, on Twitter, on with my label, you can see it, Melvin, the only way is Arsenal Marks. I'm always on every Tuesday here when I can, obviously. And on Ryan Arsenal 89, Mr. Arsenal. And also on From Dull Square to Where from time to time. So this is the main one I'm on, the main one.
Yeah, so check out Ryan and Andrew's channel as well, because they're both great stuff they do as well. Dorsey, again, a pleasure having you on. You're in a slightly strange position at the moment because obviously Adam disappeared off the screen before. So but anyway, where you are now, so we'd have to get used to it. But of course, it doesn't matter where you are with that top on. You can literally be anywhere. It doesn't matter because it is magnificent. And we have enjoyed your top tonight as well as yourself being on.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I think I might go to bed in it.
Yeah, I think you should. I wouldn't take it off.
Yeah, I really like it. Yeah, thanks again. I need to just come on every week rather than seems to be every other week at the minute. But I'll try and be a bit more consistent because I enjoy the shows with you guys on a Tuesday. So yeah, thanks for having me on again. And it was good. Plenty to get through, but here's hoping for another 2 better performances than we had in the last 2 that we discussed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, last time we said we wouldn't get 0 points and we did. So this time we've maybe not tried to talk about how many points we might get. We've both predicted 2 wins, which is great. We've all predicted 6 points, which would be nice. I mean, let's hope that's what we do. And of course, Adam as well. I mean, I quite like your top as well, Adam. Don't feel bad about the fact that Dorsey's got the best top of the night. I mean, your top's pretty good as well.
Yeah, this is actually one of the Puma ones that I liked. There wasn't too many of the Puma kits I was keen on. This one, and I think we mentioned one last week, the black and the pinky. I quite like that. That's
my favourite. True one, that black one. Yeah.
I'm glad we have got the old Adidas back now. And I've got to say that top of Dorsey got again. It is pretty special. I do need to get.
I did get the because I was toying between. I did get the re-release of the shirt as well, the long sleeve one.
I've got the original of that one somewhere.
I've got a short sleeve original, but I couldn't. I love a long sleeve shirt. I couldn't turn down the opportunity to get a long sleeve one as well.
Don't blame you. Don't blame you.
It's
it's great stuff. The old kits are the best. The old kits are definitely the best. I mean, funny enough, I had a West Ham fan on the channel last night, and on his channel they do a show looking back on their West Ham shirts over the years, actually. And maybe that's something we could. I did say to you that's a really good idea. Now. I know obviously Dorsey loves his old shirt, so that may be a good idea for a show, looking at some of our favourite or memorable.
Well, just hang it up in front of the screen for an hour.
Well, no, you just talk about the reason why you picked that kit, your memories behind it and stuff like that, and what it means to you and things like that. I mean, they do a show, and it's actually a pretty good show, actually. It's enjoyable. So, maybe something like that we could think about. I know Dorsey's got a lot of different shirts he could produce to show us and wear.
Yeah, I've got about 120 upstairs, so I should have most of them.
Have you? Wow. That's impressive, that. I mean, I've only got
like through the keyhole.
Yeah, it would be, exactly, yeah. Come and look at Dorsey's tops. Who owns a top like this? It'd be Dorsey. That'd be easy to guess, wouldn't it? Who owns a top like this? It's Dorsey, because it's Dorsey. That's Dorsey's top, that one.
I think the first one I got was the bruised banana in '92, and there's only one shirt I haven't got since then, and I've got plenty of different versions of the same shirt. So, bit of an obsession.
I mean, I think you could do a show of the shirts on your own, couldn't you? Really, you could just go through them all and talk about them. You could do an hour on each shirt. That'd be like, that'd be a whole season's worth of shows, wouldn't it? Just Dorsey talking about his shirts. That'd be great. That might be a good idea. I think that's a good idea. We could call it Dorsey shirts, couldn't we? That'd be good.
Shirts.
Dorsey, Dicky Dirts.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, we do that. That'd be a good idea. That. So, but yeah. So that was. I'll say that was a West Ham show that do that. So they think I'm copying them actually, but anyway, it's a good idea. Because we all seem every week we seem to turn up with different tops on each of us, don't we? So we've all got. Apart from Melvin, never seems to wear an Arsenal top very often. Is that like a superstition, Melvin, or is it just?
Yeah, it is. My theory was when I was a kid, if I'm not good enough to wear the Arsenal shirt playing from, I don't want to wear it.
Well, fair enough. But you're good enough to wear it on this Arsenal podcast, though, Melvin.
I suppose so. I've got a few.
You're good enough to wear it, Melvin. Don't you worry about that, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
Proving your worth.
You've earned your right to wear the shirt.
That was going to happen. All right, I might wear it next. I'll wear one of them next time that I've got, if it fits.
Oh, you'll definitely fit. Don't worry about that. They did get Dorsey's jacket. That's about like 5 sizes too big, so that'd be all right.
It's huge. It is huge.
Yeah, they are big fit. Them ones. When I say I saw me the other day, I'm thinking that's a big fit. That, but anyway, I suppose it is 90s, as you said. It's a bit like
that's the style, isn't it? The
Stone Roses and all that kind of stuff. So I suppose it's a bit like that, isn't it? But it is impressive when we do enjoy it. And Russ has put a comment in there saying the Arsenal treatment room has been renamed in honour of Rositzky. Yeah, he did spend a lot of time in it, didn't he? Jack Wilshere as well, of course, who's back here now. Not in the treatment room, hopefully, but he's back at the club anyway, isn't he? Training. So
we always forget about treatment, Richard. Long treatment was Van Persie was out for nearly a year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. And then he came back. Then he came back, had a great 18 months. He was the best player in the world, and then decided to bugger off to Man United. So cheers, mate. We looked after you all that time, got you good treatment to get you fit again, and then you treat us like that. Anyway, never mind. I do quite like it.
Ashley Cole got him fit for England, didn't we? And for the final.
We did, yeah. He missed the whole season for us near enough, didn't he?
Yeah.
Full season. And then he ended up, we got him fit for England. Yeah, but anyway, that's what we do. We're too nice. That's our problem, isn't it? We need to be a bit more ruthless now. And maybe Arteta's shown that today, his ruthlessness. Let's continue that now on the pitch tomorrow against West Ham. Let's be ruthless and go and hammer the hammers. That'd be good. And then we can enjoy the rest of the week before Leeds, which is going to be interesting. So, so thanks to all you guys for being on. Of course, Melvin, Dorsey and Adam, of course, the usual crew, the great Tuesday Clinic crew, which is great to have you guys on. And also everyone in the chat as well. There's lots of good comments coming in, which kept us going through the show as well. So lots to get through tonight, lots to talk about. Obviously, as it usually is with Arsenal, this Amazon program is going to be pretty unbelievable, really, isn't it? Everything that's gone on. And so we're not even halfway through the season yet, so God knows what the rest of the season's got in store for us. But anyway, the good thing is, whatever happens, we'll be here on a Tuesday to talk about it, and every week, and the good and the bad. That's what it's about, isn't it? We've had to suffer both this season, quite a lot of both. So let's hope there's a few more good moments to come in the rest of the season, and we look forward to all of that. So I will be back tomorrow. There's obviously Arsenal women are playing and the men at the same time tomorrow, which is a bit annoying. So I'm going to have 2 screens going. I'm going to be watching both games and trying to follow both of them at the same time. So that'll be about 7:45. I'll go live with that. Then on Thursday, I'm actually going to have the West Ham fan back on. We're going to look back on the West Ham game with him, see his thoughts and stuff like that. Hopefully, it'll still come on when they lose 5-0, but we'll see. And then Friday, of course, it's the Arsenal Women's Show, looking back on a good win. Obviously, the women playing tomorrow as well. So looking back on those two games and the final game of the year against Brighton on Sunday. And then, of course, on Saturday, if I can't get a ticket for Leeds, which at the moment it's not looking very likely, unfortunately, I'll have to do a watch along on Saturday evening of that game. I want to go if I can. I'm still looking for tickets. So if anyone knows of a ticket for Leeds going, please let me know, because I desperately want to go to Leeds on Saturday. So if you see a ticket going and you don't know anyone who doesn't want it, I will definitely be top of the list. So I definitely want to go to that one. So, but otherwise, I will be doing a watch along on Saturday as well. So loads on the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. And of course, Melvin, Dorsey, and Adam, thank you very much again for coming on. We will speak back on the Tuesday clinic next week. In the meantime, of course, a big night tomorrow for Arsenal, the men and the women, but particularly the men need to beat West Ham. Come on, you Gunners. Come on. 3 points. 3 points. Dorsey needs to wear that top every single day, every single show, because it's fantastic. Over and over again.